Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation. So in this presentation, I'm just going to give a brief intro of what RPA is, or RPA in general, robotic process automation. So without further ado, let's get started. So here are our agendas for today. So we have, first one is overview of RPA. In here, we will be able to define what is RPA. The next one is RPA robots, examples and types. RPA in real life, we will give some examples as well and use cases. And finally, automation potential, which is the criteria and assessment to define the automation potential of a process. So let's get started. An overview of RPA. So what is RPA? RPA stands for Robotic Process Automation. And if we split this into separate words, we get robotic, which means programmable computer software that executes the operations or tasks. So in RPA, these operations are mimicked from human actions. And then process, which means a sequence of actions or steps taken in order to achieve a particular end. And finally, automation, which means the application of machines to tasks once performed by human beings. Now, if you can notice here, we have highlighted some words or some phrases of the definition. And if we combine these, we get a programmable computer software that executes a sequence of actions or steps taken once performed by human beings. So that is basically what RPA means. Or more accurately, RPA is defined as the technology that enables computer software to emulate and integrate actions typically performed by humans, interacting with digital systems to execute business processes. So yeah, that's basically it. RPA is the technology that is used to simulate human actions, like everything that we do in the digital setting can be done with RPA. And it is also automated. That's why it is called RPA. So let me discuss briefly what are the advantages, and just like any other technology, RPA also has its disadvantages. So here are some advantages. The first advantage that we have is cost effectiveness. So RPA is considered a cost-effective solution since it can be executed in a repetitive cycle, and as long as you maintain it, it will continue to do so until it's programmed otherwise. So let me just compare it or contrast it with employees or human. So RPA does not really need any breaks as compared to humans, any lunch breaks or holidays or leaves, sick leaves, vacation leaves, or any shift time. So this is a huge advantage since there will be less costs and there's an increase in productivity from the RPA perspective. So the of investment can also be recovered in a short span of time, and the gains from it are exponential. And the next one that we have is improved quality assurance. So as employees or humans, we know that, or even students, to all students that are attending this, we know that any repetitive task that we do can be quite boring, or um, it is not enjoyable in the long run. So after a certain period of time, it is expected that our concentration level or level of productivity would decline. So to eliminate this problem, RPA is the solution, because RPA can accurately produce and check um, anything that we need to be checked to meet the required standards for our process without any failure. So that's it for quality assurance. Thirdly, we have increased productivity. Um, for this, I would like to go back to the first bullet that we have, since it relates to there. Um, RPA can increase the productivity since it is designed to make repetitive simulations, while humans are not. So adapting RPA can have a huge impact on productivity since, on a side note, the staff members or um, anyone who is previously doing the process that is now being automated by RPA can now be able to expand their skills and work in other areas. So that's it. And finally, another advantage is work in hazardous environments. So um, there are industries with unstable or dangerous environments, and RPA can greatly be of advantage in these industries. Um, Naturally, these industries have a high turnover of staff because of the nature of his work. So automated robots can minimize material waste and remove the need for humans to expose themselves in these scenarios. So those are some of the advantages. There are many more, but these are um, just the highlights of what the advantages of RPA are. And let's go on to the next one. Now let's talk about the disadvantages of RPA. The first one is potential job losses. So this is more of a concern rather than a disadvantage, because um, a lot of people, or maybe even people in this seminar, would worry that humans may not be needed when RPA is set in place. But I think that it's not entirely true, since humans can never be replaceable by robots in the things that we do, because not everything that we do can be done by RPA robots. So it just means that today, um, maybe one staff member may be doing a specific task, but tomorrow an RPA could take over his or her task. But that just means he could have another set of tasks, maybe tasks with a higher value than the previous ones. So let's take that into account. And to give you an example, I would like to to set Amazon as an example. So Amazon's employment rate increased rapidly um, when they have implemented RPAs. So they have gone from like 1,000 robots to over 45,000. So that is just an example that this concern or worry is not really a true disadvantage of RPA. So next, moving on, we have initial investment costs. So this is typically a problem of most companies that are interested in adapting RPA. So initially, RPA solutions can be very expensive. So thorough planning must be put in place when you wanna consider the implementation of RPA. So yeah, but though it's said that the returns can be substantial, and in a short span of time, the cash flow is sustainable, and you can um, you can I mean, you should consider the stability of the company, um, since the returns can only be marginal when you consider the stability of the company. I don't know if it made sense, but it's just what I'm saying is it's important to consider these risks and gains before attempting to implement RPA. So next and final disadvantage that we have listed is hiring skilled staff. So it's pretty um, prevalent in some manufacturers to find skilled staff to fill in the specialized roles in their factories. Um, this also applies to RPA. So, for example, um, a company decides to adapt automation um, in their processes. So, this could be a disadvantage of RPA since there is um, a limited number of skilled staff members who are capable of it. But in reality, this just opens up more opportunities for existing employees to be trained and expand their own skill set. So even though you don't have a skilled employee, um, you can train and expand your employee skill set. So learning RPA, in my experience, is not really that hard. Um, I think as long as you have a background in um, technology or even business, um, you can get by. Yeah. Um, the platforms nowadays make it easier um, for employees, even though you're not too technical, even though you're just a business employee, um, and you don't think you can handle RPA, it's easier than you think. So, despite all of these disadvantages that I've discussed, there can always be solutions to problems, to every problems. So it just means that countermeasures are always there to ensure that the business would not be heavily impacted by these disadvantages. Okay, so let's proceed on to the next one. RPA robots. Okay, so what do you immediately think of when you see or hear of the word robots? So you might be thinking that it's something tangible or a machine or something that has actuators, maybe moving arms or a humanoid figure like Asimo, if you know him or it. Well, that is accurate for robots. Those are really accurate descriptions, but RPA robots are quite different from common robots. They are, first off, they are invisible to us and they are in fact fully digital. They are also sometimes referred to as digital workforce. And RPA robots work at the UI level and interacts with systems just like a human would. So I would like to put an emphasis as to why RPA robots are considered a digital workforce. So similar to human workforce, RPA robots are the ones who execute tasks or jobs, but this time of RPA or robotic process automation. And as I mentioned earlier, um, RPA is automation of processes which were once assigned to humans. So RPA robots are to some degree comparable to human employees or humans, but they also have their limits. Now let's take a look at what RPA robots are capable of doing. So they are capable of capturing data, running applications, triggering responses, and communicate with other systems. So first off, we have capturing data. So here are just um, some of the features that we can do to make it possible to capture data. So first off is recorders. So some RPA platforms have or offer recorders. So these recorders are tools that are used to record human activities. And then these activities are then saved by the development platform as activities or commands for later use. So this is basically the logic of the robot. Though it is useful for developing RPA, it is only recommended to be used for providing an outline, since there could be we can't eliminate the fact that there could be errors when um, when recording, since most especially when the environment that you're working on is variable. Like for example, you are required to um, fill out forms with different credentials, or fill out spreadsheets with different data types, then it is quite hard to um, just go with whatever the recorder offers. So there has to be some configurations made to satisfy the business requirements. So next, just to add, there are various types of recorders that are available. Like in UiPath, there's the basic, the desktop, and the web recorders. So these recorders enables automatic recording of multiple actions performed on the screen. There are also other types of recorders like the native Citrix, which is also used for recording as well, but they are intended to be used in virtual environments, or more specifically in the Citrix environment. Next thing that we have for capturing data is data scraping, which is it's a technique used to extract structured data from browsers, applications, or documents. So this extracted data is then placed in a workable variable. And in some cases, it depends on the platform on which data type it is being put. Like for example, in UiPath, the extracted data is placed in a data table variable. Since the robot assumes that data scraped is a structured data. And thirdly, we have screen scraping. Screen scraping is useful for extracting data from which you do not really have access to the element itself, but have access to the screen. So as an example, in UiPath, they have the full text, the native, and the OCR screen scraping methods. So OCR stands for optical character recognition. It is useful for extracting data from a specific UI element or document. Next, RPA is also capable of running applications. Another capability of RPA is running applications. So with desktop automation, RPA robots are capable of running different types of applications, such as web-based apps, desktop apps, system apps, and even Citrix-based apps, as I have mentioned earlier. So also discussed earlier, RPA operates in the UI or user interface level or the presentation layer of an application. So desktop automation understands the UI at a logical control level, um, meaning it can detect elements in a specific window or on your screen, and it does not really rely on the position of elements on the screen. So as a result, the desktop automation is much more reliable and independent of screen size and resolution. Next, next capability of RPA is to trigger responses. Okay, in here, RPA robots also have the ability to trigger responses based on human interactions. So these triggers are involved when, like, let's say, some elements like buttons or links are clicked. So this concept is quite similar to what we have in programming, which are events. So as you may know, events have things called listeners, and these listeners wait for specific user actions. Now, when these actions are performed by the user, the robots do their job and executes the command that it was designed for. So for instances like this, where processes are activated by triggers, attended robots are used. I will further discuss it later. So stay put. Next, there are generally three types of user events. The first one being system events. So these events are used for monitoring, like the system inputs or keyboard inputs and mouse clicks, or maybe even a combination of the keystrokes. The second type of event is element-related events. These events are used to monitor or listen to a specific UI element. So let's say a user interacts with fields on a form or other elements like drop downs, stuff like that. This can also all be considered element-related events. And thirdly, we have events on specific images. So for this one, RPA bots monitors or listens to a chosen image on the screen. So it searches for this specific image, and once it detects any change that happened on the specific image, it executes the process. Okay. Okay, next, and our last capability on the list is communicate with other systems. So earlier, I have mentioned that RPA naturally operates on the UI level, sorry, but it is also possible with RPA to integrate with other systems through APIs, database connections, and DLLs. So these applications are, in some platforms, they offer libraries that make it easy to integrate to certain applications. So these applications are typically easy to integrate with, like Java or Microsoft Office Suite, or even SAP. Though it is also possible to create your own logic to integrate with other systems within an RPA. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the capabilities. So with these capabilities, RPA robots are able to emulate user interactions and execute their programmed process. Next thing, here we will see robots alongside humans. So although I have mentioned earlier that one of the disadvantages of RPA is potential job loss, it's not really that accurate. RPA robots cannot um, replace everything that we do, because they RPA robots, when they are deployed, they also have to be maintained. So in an RPA process, robots and humans are needed, and they actually have different tasks on which connects to where they are best at. So since RPA robots are designed to handle the tedious tasks, they handle tasks like data collection, data entry, storing files. So this is suitable for robots since robots can run 24/7, and they can, as mentioned earlier, they can repetitively do tasks without um, productivity or quality declining. So on the other hand, we have humans. So humans are typically assigned the high value tasks. So these are tasks um, like face-to-face interactions with the client or colleagues, as well as um, decision making in coming up with like complex strategies. So these are just some of the tasks that makes humans irreplaceable. Now let's talk about the two types of robots. So, or interchangeably, the two types of automation in RPA. These are the attended and unattended. So to further explain this, we can ask a few questions. So the first one is what? What is unattended? Oh, I'm sorry. What is attended RPA? So attended RPA is the type of RPA that works on a human-bot collaboration. So meaning there has to be, at some point of the process, a human intervention for the process to work. So RPA, attended RPA solutions, because of this, have to be installed on individual workstations because they are also used for handling tasks of individual employees. So on the other hand, we have unattended RPA. Unattended RPA is a type of RPA that does not require any supervision in order to work. So they can run independently without the need for human intervention. So next question that we have is how? So how does attended RPA work? So in an attended RPA, attended bots are directed by its users or the human. So in some cases, these users are employees, but RPM managers can set up tasks between employees and bots, and they can also coordinate internal resources. The next is unattended RPA. So in an attended RPA, unattended RPA, unattended bots follow a rule-based process. So because of this, they work independently, and the rule-based process allows them to direct the process where they are needed. So some platforms, they have this admin or RPA managers to manage the schedules, since unattended bots can be run by schedules. And they are also in charge of the resources needed by these bots. Now our third question is when? When, um, when does it run? Or when is it available to run? So the first RPA is an attended RPA, sorry. So attended RPA or attended bots are always ready to run. They're actually just waiting to be run by the employees or be triggered, as I mentioned earlier, by the events. For the unattended RPA or unattended bots can be operated on a preset schedule, or they can also be triggered by logic in the process flow. So as long as there is no human intervention, it can be considered an unattended robot. And unattended robots can run 24/7. So a good use case for unattended robots could be a records management system. So like when new batches of customer records arrive, let's say in an Excel file, since those data may need to be processed um, or like transferred to another spreadsheet or inputted in an application. So unattended bots are advantages in this scenario. Next question is where? Where do we run or where can we run attended bot? So for attended bot, we can run it on workstations, private servers, or in cloud. This is actually the same as with unattended RPA. We can run it on workstations, private servers, or in the cloud. Finally, we asked the question, why? So why attended RPA? So as listed here, we have increased productivity, reduces average call time, enhances customer experience, and it increases compliance. And as you may have noticed from this list, attended RPA focuses on the customer and user experience, since attended robots are like assistants for humans. So it does this by making the transaction efficient, by helping the user with their task on hand. So it reduces the um, turnaround time of tasks, total turnaround time, and the load of work handled by employees as well. This can also be more accurate since a robot is undoubtedly more accurate than humans. Next is unattended RPA. Oh, sorry, I would just like to add attended RPA use cases could most likely be on front office activities or call centers, stuff like that. Next is unattended RPA. So why unattended RPA? So businesses can greatly benefit in productivity from unattended bots, since unattended bots are great for doing processes that require a highly repetitive process and does not have much change in its steps over time. So as listed here, the advantages are reduces operating cost, increases productivity, eliminates errors, frees employees from repetitive work, and improves compliance. So moving on to our next topic, RPA in real life. So let's get into reality. Sorry, let's get into reality. where do we usually find RPA? And how does it fit in an enterprise scenario? So I'll answer those questions by showing you some of these examples. We have the first three examples here. The first one being payroll processing. So payroll processing is the actions taken by the company to pay their employees by keeping track of their presence, um, of their salaries, bonuses, and taxes. So payroll processing needs manual intervention month after month, or in our case, bi-monthly every year. So an RPA system can be used in this scenario to extract the details that are required from the handwritten or maybe digital timesheets, and it can also do other stuff like calculating the pay and to distribute the um, salaries as well. So it can order the necessary bank transactions in case you're curious as to how. The next is client information updates. So in this use case, um, it can be quite problematic for any organization that has CRM to face a lot of issues. Since the client base can be spread across multiple locations, there can be frequent calls to the backend databases, and updates and changes are always there from all sources. So RPA solutions can process these requests in batches instead of processing them one after the other. So the main advantage is it reduces the load on the back end. Thirdly, we have renewal process. So renewal process is considered a complex process, not because of its exceptions or complications, but because of the number of operations and synchronization that is needed between different departments and systems. So it's more of interdependencies of departments. So how can RPA help in this scenario? Robots can streamline this process by automation. So it starts with communicating with the client. RPA can definitely assist with that to processing the changes in contracts, drafting the contracts or other documents, and then updating the internal systems. So next three of our use cases, we have financial statement reconciliation, operations of matching, orders, payments, losses, margins, and so on with accounts and financial statements. So it says here, the common process that an organization needs to manage to ensure clean records and reliable financial documents. So how can RPA help in this scenario? RPA robots can be set up to seamlessly replace the humans who would have to do these jobs, since RPA software is, again, it is more accurate and quality is assured when using RPA, and it is of great importance when handling use cases or processes like this one. So next we have compliance reporting. So in here, it says here that growing organizations are challenged with close monitoring of compliance requirements, such as reporting to authorities, complying with internal procedures, and audit requirements. So how can robot help here? Robots can be set up to cover all these needs. And just like the previous one, since robots have a low error rate and low human intervention needed. And our last example is customer complaint reporting. Um, So at any industry, customer complaints are always taken into consideration. So the number of customer complaints is an important indicator of the business health and a good predictor of the future of the company. Um, since this is very important for the company, um, they can greatly benefit from RPA. So how can RPA help in this scenario? RPA can um, assist by categorizing the customer complaints. It can be based on keywords or maybe other criteria as well. Um, and on top of this, um, for low risk or um, um, those that can be addressed quickly by the bot, the bot can suggest solutions or possible solutions to the customer right away. So this eases the um, the support's workload, as well as providing an instantaneous solution to the customers. So in a way, this improves customer experience. So because of this, customer complaints or most customer complaints can be answered 24/7 instead of just 8 hours a day and only 5 days a week. So I'm gonna present to you just some more use cases. So here for services industry, we have customer invoicing, claim processing, and contact center processes. Next industry is financial. For the financial industry, we have retail credit assessment and fraud prevention, account settlement and payment clearance, interrogation of public databases, automatic account closures. For the healthcare industry, we have digitizing and regular updating of patient files, inventory management, and invoice settlement. For the education sector, we have course registration and attendance management, processing of grades and report cards, and creating class schedules. Next, we have high tech. For high tech, we have client data uploading, application integration, and you can also use RPA for hardware and software testing for functional, load, and mobile performance. Um, the next industry is manufacturing. For this one, you can use it for inventory management and procurement, payment processing, and customer communication. Now, just note that these use cases are not limited to the industries here, which they are listed under. Some use cases like the payment processing can be applied to other sectors or industries as well. So for retail, we have onboarding, offboarding, and payroll, inventory and contract management, invoicing and returns processing, and sales analytics. And finally, on government, we can use it for benefit claims, fraud prevention, and payer data updating. Okay, now this is quite important. I'm going to discuss the automation potential assessment. So what is automation potential assessment? So automation potential assessment is an assessment of business cases um, or business requirements based on certain criteria to determine if the process is attainable through RPA. So there are two sets of criteria that is used in automation potential assessment. We have the process fitness and automation complexity. So process fitness is used to evaluate how fit a process is for automation, while automation complexity determines how hard it is to automate a process. So let's talk about the different criteria under process fitness. Okay, so first one, is that a process has to be rule-based. So this means that decision points in the process can be captured in the predefined logic. So exception rate should either be low or it can be included in the business logic, or it has to be specified. Next is that um, it has to be automatable and or repetitive process. So to further discuss this, I would like to show you the four different types of processes. So here we have, first is manual and non-repetitive. So this is when the process steps are performed by humans and is different or can be different every time the process is executed. The next one is manual and repetitive. These are processes in which the steps are performed by the user, and at least some of them are the same every time. The next one is semi-automated and repetitive. So some of these repetitive steps have already been automated um, using maybe macros, Outlook rules, and so on. And finally, we have automated. So these are processes that have been automatically or automated already using other technologies than RPA. So processes for this criteria, just like to get back there. So processes that need to stay manual or are non-repetitive are not good candidates for automation since they have high exception rate or factors that cannot be integrated in the business logic. The next criteria that we have is that the process should have a standard input. So the input in the process should either be electronic and easily readable or readable using a technology that can be integrated or associated with RPA. So a good example of this is OCR, as I mentioned earlier. Um, yeah, so for stuff like that, stuff like OCR, usually the document or files used have predefined fields. Um, and finally, we have stable. So process must be stable or must be the same for a certain amount of time, certain period of time, and there are no changes expected within the next months. So if the process is stable, it is a good candidate for automation, provided that they meet the other criteria as well. So next set of criteria is the automation complexity. We also have um, four criteria for automation complexity. The first one being the number of screens. So for here, the the number of screens, the more elements have to be captured and configured. So RPA works by programming the robot to perform tasks at a screen level or at a UI level. So when the screen changes, another set of logic must be taught to the bot. So yeah, as mentioned here, the higher the number of screens, the more elements have to be captured and configured. So that is one factor that must be considered when assessing the automation potential or automation complexity of a process. The next criteria is types of applications. So there are applications that can be easily automated with RPA, like the Office Suite or Java. So others, they're quite heavy on the effort. For example, mainframe applications. And the more different the applications are, the number of screens will increase as well, which brings us back to the previous bullet or number, which is the number of screens. So these can also contribute to the complexity of the automation or the process that you want to automate. Thirdly, we have business logic scenarios. So an automation complexity increases with the number of decision points in the business logic. So basically, each one of the decision points could multiply by 2 the number of scenarios. Or maybe even 3 or more, depending on the complexity of the decisions needed in the process as well. Finally, we have the types and number of inputs. And as I previously stated, standard input is desirable for automation. But there are cases where one standard input, like let's say an invoice or a contract, has to be configured for each supplier. So in this case, it can affect the automation effort, since each let's say template that you have or each type of document that you have has to be configured separately. So there can also be non-standard inputs with different complexity grades. The free text is considered as the most complex. So with those criteria that I presented earlier, we can now categorize or put the process in one of the 4 categories here. So these categories are no RPA, semi-automation, high-cost RPA, and zero-touch automation. So the first one is no RPA. These are processes where change is frequent. The system environment is volatile, means frequently changing and unpredictable. And as we mentioned earlier on the process fitness, we cannot automate, or processes that are manual and are non-repetitive are not good candidates for RPA. And also for this, for no RPA, these are the processes that usually require multiple manual actions. Next category is semi-automation. So in this category, processes can be broken down to steps that can be clearly automated. And there are also some steps that has to stay manual, like validations or usage of physical tokens, security tokens. So next is high cost RPA. In this category, processes that are rather digital and can be automated, but they use some technologies that are quite complex, like OCR, or technology that has to be programmed or requires any programming skills or advanced programming skills, to be more accurate. And lastly, the zero-touch automation. So these are a very good candidate for automation. These are processes that are digital and have a highly static system and process environment. So they can be easily broken down into instructions, and simple triggers can be applied for these types of processes. So yeah, that's basically everything that I have to present for introduction of RPA. Thank you. Stay safe and have a great day.
Good afternoon. Since RPA is explained by the preceding speaker, what I will be discussing to you is one of the platform that provides RPA to the users. So, welcome to RPA with UiPath. So, this will be our agenda. First, we will be introducing to you what is UiPath. Next, we'll be discussing what is a workflow design in UiPath. Then finally, we will briefly discuss what is a robotic enterprise framework. Excuse. UiPath RPA platform is one of the choices that can be used for deploying RPAs. UiPath is a RPA tool which is used for Windows desktop automations. It offers easy process creation by its visual process designer, or commonly known as drag and drop functionality. One of the leading RPA tools in the market, it offers a highly scalable end-to-end RPA platform where we can use UiPath to automate from simple to complex tasks. Who currently uses UiPath? In the industry, here are the several big companies that uses UiPath in order to gain more capacity, enhance efficiency, increase process scalability and flexibility. As Solhab they said, it helped more than 1,000 companies worldwide by creating an automated virtual workforce. So what is the difference between UiPath and other RPAs? All platform now offers a free trial in order for the users to understand the tool better. Before, Blue Prism doesn't offer a free trial and must be paid in order for them to learn how to use Blue Prism. Several differences from the leading RPA in the industry. Um, in terms of architecture, UiPath and Blue Prism uses a client-server architecture, while AA, or Automation Anywhere, uses cloud-native, web-based microservices architecture. In terms of macro recording, AA offers a universal recorder that doesn't require users to select the kind of recorder that will be used. Um, while UiPath has a macro recorder for process mapping. On the other hand, Blue Prism doesn't have any form of macro recorder. In terms of accuracy, AA excels in Citrix automation with NLP, while Blue Prism is accurate for desktop, web-based Citrix automation. Um, UiPath excels in Citrix automation designed for BPO automation. For their community and support, all of them have their own community, and all of them offers 24/7 client support. So UiPath consists of three main components, which is UI Studio, UI Robots, and Orchestrator. UiPath is a highly visual, intuitive automation tool with process recorders and pre-built drag and drop activities. UiPath also offers different profile options to the users when using the UiPath Studio. Here are several key differences for each profile. Excuse. Studio X is addressed to business users for automating tasks mostly with use for integration with Microsoft Excel. UI Studio offers a plethora of tools for designing complex and large platforms, while Studio Pro offers an access to test suite features such as application testing, RPA testing, API testing, automation, and also C# support. User type for each profile, X is mostly for business user, as you can see. Studio is mostly for RPA developers, while the Pro is for specialist developer. Required coding skills. X doesn't require programming knowledge. It offers no code solution, while Studio requires at least basic programming knowledge, while Pro mostly based on Steam, it requires an advanced programming knowledge. In terms of automation approach, Studio approaches automation by bottom up, while Studio and Studio Pro uses the top down automation approach. Automation target, X is mostly for straightforward tasks, while Studio is and Studio Pro um, mostly is for complex processes, while for Pro it also offers test automation. Type of workflows, Studio X is mostly only offers sequence workflows, while Studio has sequence, flowcharts, and state machine. Studio Pro has the same function with Studio but with additional of test automation. Project size for Studio X is mostly for single file, while Studio and Pro use multiple files for projects. So UiPath Robot. UiPath Robot is UiPath's execution agent that enables you to run processes developed in Studio. Robots need to be connected to orchestrator in order to execute the process, or they have to be licensed locally. The robot is split into several components, each being dedicated to a particular task in the automation. But mostly we'll discuss will be the UiPath assistant. So the following components are what you can see in the screen in your screen right now: services, breakdown into service mode and user mode, executor, command line interface, and UiPath assistant. So what is a UI? We'll be discussing more on UiPath assistant for the robot. This is a place where individuals can easily access and manage and run automations. The interface can be customized to better suit the person behind it by choosing an avatar, naming the robot, and organize process in custom folders in the launchpad, or maybe choosing the theme, light or dark, and of these is makes the UI assistant the bridge between human and the robot. So what can we do aside from creating a profile for a robot? We can, in UiPath Assistant, we can view the running processes, pause them, resume when we pause the process, or totally stop a process. We can also view all available processes in our market or in our environment. You can also download them, up, update those currently use or you currently have the processes, or you can also start them. You can also create a reminder for the processes. These reminders is as what they are called reminder. You can create reminders for specific process that will be executed. So now next is the orchestrator. What is an orchestrator? It is our central dashboard that lets you manage all your bots. Orchestrator lets you manage the creation, monitoring, and deployment of resources in your environment. It also acts as an integration point with third-party solutions and applications. Its power comes from capability of managing your entire robot fleet. Workflow design. During the bot development, it is important to understand how you will implement the workflow and which activity should be used. To model it, UiPath offers the following four activities for implementing workflow. These are flowchart, sequence, state machine, and global exception handler. Sequences have a simple linear representation that flows from top to bottom and is best suited for simple scenarios when activities follow each other. Mostly commonly used mostly commonly used activity and best suited for model automation that has a defined progression in the workflow, such as linear progression from one step to another in a sequence. Flowchart offer more flexibility for connecting activities. They tend to lay out workflow in plain two-dimensional manner. Because of its free form and visual appeal, flowcharts are best suited for showcasing the decision points within the process. This activity can be used to implement conditional workflow that may switch between two different paths depending on the result of evaluating the condition. Sort of like if-else statement. Flowchart uses flow decision to define decision points, mostly based on condition evaluation that may be true or false. Uh, in addition to this, you can also use a flow switch that can act as a switch case statement with one outcome for each match. Next is the state machine. It is a rather complex structure that can be also seen as a flowchart with conditional arrows called transitions. It enables a more compact representation of logic, and we found it more suitable for a standard high-level process diagram of transactional business process templates. The state machine can also be thought as a superset of flowchart. While the flowchart provides branching workflow for only two directions, state machine can be thought of as a way to implement a workflow based on multiple conditions. Overall logic can be thought as composed of states we transition from one state to another state. This activity simplifies implementation of complex transactional business processes. Exception handler is designed to be used in both small and large automation projects. For mostly for identifying execution errors, and most importantly, determining the workflow behavior when such an error occurs. If an exception error is encountered during debugging, the global exception handler may be set to step in or allow you to check the workflow's behavior in accordance to the options previously set in exception handler. This activity is the core of implementing error handling in your automation projects. Think of it as a global exception handler, as the component allows you to handle different error conditions in the automation project. So whenever an exception occurs during the execution, it redirects you to the global exception handler workflow. If you need to create a robust solution, it is critically important to think of all the error conditions and system behavior for all error conditions. While technology doesn't eliminate the thought process yet, it can simplify exception handling by doing it globally. This workflow adds all required activities, variables, and arguments as a template. So global handler gives the ability to set up application behavior in case an error condition, in case of an error condition, and choose to either abort the program, ignore the exception, or continue the exception, or retry the activity that threw an exception, or continue to run the global exception handler workflow. RE framework or Robotic Enterprise Framework is a template within UiPath Studio. It is built using the state machine layout. We have 4 stages in the RE framework architecture. First, we have the initialization. Next is the get transaction, then process transaction, and it ends in end transaction. Since the system can only be in one state at a time, at least one transition condition from any given state must be true for it in order to move to another state. If it gets a fail or it fails in any of these states, reframework is built in a way that it will retry, or the process will end immediately, then send an exception log with the respective error messages. Overall, reframework comprises of 3 state activities, one final state activity, and 7 transitions where each state is connected to each other. That's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, welcome to our presentation on UiPath demo. My name is Terence Ayerndakis and I am from MDI Navarre. So let's set the agenda for today. We will be defining a use case of the process to be used for the demo. And then we will proceed with the actual demonstration. The demonstration consists of the development process for the RPA logic flow. And then finally, we enumerate a few takeaways or key takeaways from this demo. The problem. So a beauty company wants to automate the fetching of top products from several product types to aid with their research. So their manual process consists of the following. It starts by opening the browser and then navigating to a shopping website. Then each product type is searched in the shopping app and sorted according to the review scores. And then the top 5 products are recorded in a spreadsheet one by one. So normally this method would take about half to a full minute of processing per product type, and this is with manual effort. Now what is the proposed solution? Obviously we are gonna be using RPA for this matter. Since the process does not require any human intervention, we are gonna use unattended robot type. Then we define the input data or input file. We will be needing a spreadsheet containing the list of products to search or product types to search. And then the automated process is as follows. First, the bot opens the browser, then it navigates to the shopping website, and then it opens the input spreadsheet, a spreadsheet with the list of products or product types. Then it iterates through each row in the spreadsheet to search every product type. After that, it interacts with the drop-down to sort the list per review scores. Then we extract the first 5 results and put the results in a spreadsheet. Then finally, we save the spreadsheet. For this process, we have output or outputs of spreadsheets containing the extracted data. This is a very simple process, extraction process, and we'll be using a few features of UiPath to achieve this. Let's move on to the demonstration. Okay, so now here we are in the UiPath Studio. UiPath Studio is the development platform of UiPath used for creating logic bot flows. Now we have another version of UiPath which is called UiPath Studio X, which is designed or geared more towards business users or those users that do not have much technical knowledge to create an RPA bot. So first, based on our steps here, we will first be creating the first two steps. So we start with opening the browser. For this part, we are going to use recorders feature of UiPath. Upon clicking this, we are presented with the different types of recorders. For this process, we are going to be using the web recording or web recorder. And let's go to our new window. We start by clicking open browser to define the browser that we have opened or that we want to open. In this case, our browser is Chrome. Next, we input the link that we want to access. So in this case, we'll be using Google Shopping as the platform to compare products or search products. So here we go. And then from here, we can go ahead and record the rest of the steps. So for this example, let's just try facial cleanser. Then click enter. Then the next step is to click this drop down and sort it by review score. After that, we can save and exit. Now, as you can see here, the bot has generated a series of activities based on what it has recorded. If you go here, we can see it has a web container. Inside this is the action for opening the browser. Let's just rename this to Open Browser Google Shopping. This activity opens the browser and navigates to the URL specified. Then once we are inside the URL, type into the search bar. After typing, we click on the drop down as indicated here. You can just put the more accurate or appropriate name for this certain activity. And then lastly, we click on review score button to, to sort it per review score. Now let's check our modified process to see if it's correct. Okay, so it appears as though the bot has stopped in this step of the process. It does not seem to be entering the enter hotkey. So for this, we will be inserting another activity here. The send hotkey activity. And indicate the element. And the key we set to enter. Now let's check once again. So our process is correct. There we go. So now we have searched one beauty product and sorted it by review score. Now, to iterate this, as mentioned earlier, we must have an input file or spreadsheet containing a list of products to search. I have created a file called beauty products list containing the product types or products that we want the bot to search. So we have a total of 9 items here, and we will be using this spreadsheet to iterate through each of the items here. To do that, we use the Excel application scope, and then we define the file to be used. Then we go ahead and use UiPath's library for Excel files. To get the values inside the spreadsheet. So for this, we use the read range activity, and we have to set a variable to serve as the data table or output variable of the read range activity. You can just go ahead and name it beauty products. Do not forget to set the scope to web so that it is accessible in other parts of the flow as well. And then, now that we have a data table consisting of all products or product types that we would want to search, we can now iterate by using the for each row activity of UiPath. So we just have to define the data table to be used. Then we can rename the variable or row to say product type. Then inside this, we can just go ahead and put this inside. Now, since we defined a fixed value here, we should now reset it to the value or values that we would like to be used. So in this case, we want to use all of this, and to access that, we use the variable defined in the for each dot item, and then we get the first index of the row. The first index corresponds to the first column in each row. Now it's important when you use the read range activity to set the add headers options on checked, as it ignores the first or it sees the first row as being the header of this spreadsheet. So it seems like we have an error here. So we forgot to convert it to string to make it a usable string or searchable string. Okay, so let's test this for now. So now let's debug to check if we are on the right track. Searches the facial cleanser, sorts it by review score, next it searches the toner, has the same, and so for the rest of the items. But it does not close each window, so we will have to add a logic for that. Okay, so the process is correct. Let's just remove the other windows here. Then we add close tab activity before the activity ends. So let's try that again. Hopefully after opening it, it would close. There we go. So now we can see that it closes after executing the logic flow. Okay, so we are done with the first part, which is to search each product as listed here. Next, we are going to extract the data. So to do that, we have to simulate the process again. For example, for moisturizers, oh, by the way, before I forget, since we have a variable here, we are using variables. It is important to change the selector of these. Activities. So for now we don't have any problem since none of the selectors use a fixed variable or defined variable. Then let's move on to create another sequence here. This is for data extraction. And we are gonna use a feature of UiPath for extracting structured data, which is called data scraping. So first we select a value. So for example, the value that we would like to extract is hold on, it's like we're having some problems here. Let's just go ahead and create another instance of this window. Like this. proceed on extracting the value. There we go. So for example, we would like to extract the product name. We first select the first value that we would like to extract, and then the second value. This is for the UiPath to recognize the pattern of the structured data. Let's just name this product name, and it previews the data here just for us to verify if we have selected the correct one. Now for this process, we only need to get the first 5, so we limit the maximum number of results to 5 results, and click finish. Is data spanning multiple pages? No, we do not need that much number of data, but in cases where you need a lot of data, you may need to configure that as well. So here we can see the generated activities for data scraping. It is important to check the selector. Like in this case, we are not only limited to searching facial cleanser, so we replace that with the wildcard selector. And since this is a partial selector, it automatically detects from its parent selector any changes that have been made. So the structured data is available as a variable now called extract data table. It's important to set the scope of this so that it can be accessible, can be accessed by our other activities as well. Then after extracting the data and putting it in variable, we are now going to put them into a folder. Let's say we have a folder here for output or output files. You can just put it output files, and then we change the name to whatever the name of the current row is. So in this case it is this one. So there you have it. The Excel's application scope activity creates a Excel spreadsheet in case there is no existing spreadsheet on that certain folder. So what we do here is we're just gonna use again the Excel activities available to write the range. It's important also to add a header to have a proper label, just in case this output spreadsheet is required in another process. So we just use the default sheet name and the range, and the data table that we're gonna use is extract data table. Okay, so let's just close this one and this as well. Then let us test. So first it searches for the facial cleanser, searches by review score. Then it should extract the top 5 results and put it in the spreadsheet. Does the same as well for toner and the rest of the products or product types. So there we go. The process is done. Let's check how long it took the bot to process all of that. So to process that, those 9 items, and the bot took 1 minute and 43 seconds. This is actually very fast. If we divide this by the number of items that we have searched, it only took the bot a little over 10 seconds per product type to search and process each product type. We can see here we now have Excel sheets for each of the product types that we have defined. So let's check. For antioxidant serum, we have the product name here and the top 5 products with the most product reviews, or with the highest review scores. Same as for the others. You can see that. So yeah, that's it. That's how easy it is to make an automation with UiPath. Going back to our presentation. So now let me discuss with you a few key takeaways that we have from this demo. But first, I would like to show you a few real-life applications that we can do with the use case that we just did right here. So first is price comparison. Let's say the beauty company is actually another manufacturer and it wants to do price comparison with competing brands on certain products that they are selling. Another use case could be if the beauty company owns several salons and it wants to do product research on beauty products from different vendors that they want to use for their salons. So here are also a few recommendations on the use case that we just presented. We see that there could be a finer searching of products by adding search criteria, or you can also have a finer result by adding criteria as well. Like, aside from the product name, we could also extract the review scores or the prices, or we could also just not limit it to top 5. We can have like top 20 or top 50, just so we could have a more diverse result. Second recommendation that we have is the representation of products per day or per certain intervals when the bot runs. So this is something that we thought of just to track the history or price movements. Now, let's proceed on the key takeaways. We have defined here 3 key takeaways from the process. First, of course, and most importantly, is the efficiency. So since the process is now automated, it does not require any manual effort, and that is a huge benefit to the business. The process time is also lowered by more than 80%, since you can see earlier that for each product type it only spent a little over 10 seconds as compared to the manual process that would take about half or a full minute just to get the data for each product type. Another business value that this use case could bring is competitive pricing, as per our first use case earlier, which is when the beauty company is a manufacturer. This solution would allow them to be more updated on the price trends in the market. And finally, if the use case that we're going for here is, let's say, the beauty company owns several salons, there is an improved cost management here, of course, since the business is now able to buy resources at the best prices available. And like the second takeaway here, it is always updated. So that's just it for our demo. Thank you. I hope you learned something from this. Stay safe and have a great day.
Hi everyone, I'm Lau. So I'll be talking more on getting started with AppSheet. Okay, so I have a very few topics here. Number one is introduction to AppSheet. So ano ba yung mga ituturo ko dito or matututunan natin? So I'll be giving you a brief introduction about the no-code platform, from which AppSheet belongs to. And then, syempre, yung citizen developers. Now, citizen developers are different from the traditional ones. And then also, the second topic will be the rich features of AppSheet. I'll be discussing it one by one to you guys. And then also, the getting started with AppSheet. Now, it contains these subtopics. And then I believe I think the best way to learn a new technology is trying it ourselves or seeing it in action as we create something out of it. Okay? So, yan, matututunan natin din dito sa topic na to yung kanina yung basic AppSheet editor functionalities, and then also we will be creating an application. Okay? So, yung gagawin nating application is just a simple application, a to-do app para medyo madali. Okay? Alright, so before I start, I want to introduce myself. I'm Lau. So, or Lau Robelarcon Jr. in full. I'm a senior R&D engineer of ISG Emerging Technologies and lead AppSheet coach for Globe employees and administrator of Globe AppSheet community in workplace. And also, I am one of the authors of AppSheet training program curriculum for Globe. Okay, so before I start, I just want to start this session with a question. Okay, so can we create an enterprise class application without touching code? So the answer is yes, with the use of the no-code platforms. So there are a lot of no-code platforms out there. So pero for this session, we'll be focusing more on the AppSheet. Okay. Alright, so ano ba si no-code development platform? Now, it's a tool for building software applications without coding. So the people who actually has no technical background on developing application takes benefit on this platform. Okay, they can create their own full-fledged application using the no-code platform like AppSheet, and then it's also an alternative and promising alternative to traditional software development. Okay, now, syempre, what do we call the developers who created application on this no-code platform? So they are called the citizen developer. Now, they build application by taking advantage on the no-code platforms, and then they don't actually report directly to IT. Okay, they use this platform being sanctioned by the organization. Okay, so for example, si AppSheet. Alright, so for the introduction to AppSheet, let's watch this 3-minute video to have a very quick but informative introduction about AppSheet. Okay.
AppSheet is an intuitive, no-code app development platform that empowers anyone in the organization to build powerful applications for collecting, updating, or sharing data more effectively. Business applications can range from supporting delivery logistics or field operations to streamlining internal HR process or managing project workflows. Any scenario where data can be collected and shared with other stakeholders more efficiently represents an opportunity to digitize or automate with custom-built apps. Traditional development resources are typically costly and time-consuming, which makes no-code platforms real valuable to average business users who are most familiar with day-to-day inefficiencies. AppSheet gives those users the ability to build apps with powerful and highly customizable feature sets with layers of intelligence built in to help reduce the workload of people creating those apps as well as those using them. AppSheet is intent-driven, which means that with just a spreadsheet or even just some written ideas about what an application should do, a functional prototype is automatically generated and available to customize. Removing time-consuming wireframing, development, and feedback steps from the traditional development process means that functional solutions can be deployed at a fraction of the cost and oftentimes in a matter of hours instead of weeks or months. Applications are commonly deployed for use on mobile or tablet devices, but can just as easily be used as interactive web apps run on desktop browsers, displayed on large monitors for viewing live analytics, or used without an interface at all as a layer of automation that runs in the background, generating and delivering notifications or reports as data is collected or updated. AppSheet apps are frequently built from a Google Sheet or Excel spreadsheet, but apps can be built or integrated with a variety of types of structured data. When information within an app is added or updated, those updates are instantly synced back to the original data source or sources the app is built from. At any point in the process, if the data source of an app needs to change, for example, from an Excel sheet hosted in Dropbox to a SQL database, it's simple to connect the app to that new source, and the app will keep functioning without any downtime. App features are data-driven, meaning that the features and capabilities of each app can be enabled if the data is designed to accommodate it. If you want to collect signatures, make sure your table has a column allotted for signatures. If you want to display a map, make sure the table includes a column of addresses or lat-long coordinates. Every app with its unique features will function offline, for example in remote areas or basements of buildings. When the device reconnects, any updates accumulated will sync back to the data source. Organizations of all sizes take advantage of the platform for a variety of use cases, but across the board, as more people contribute to building solutions, the more valuable the platform becomes. Layers of security and governance on data and app functionality ensure a secure environment, while performance enhancements and collaboration tools give users control over solving their business problems together in a cost-effective way. Try out the platform for free anytime, build a few applications, and let us know what you think.
So to summarize the 3-minute video, kanina yung pinanood natin, of what AppSheet is. So AppSheet is an intelligent no-code platform, meaning it uses AI and machine learning to generate your application just by using basic spreadsheet. And if you know basic database operation, you can create application using the AppSheet, using the AppSheet platform. Okay. Now, after you created your app and you wanted it be available to your users, when you deploy the application, it is compatible with different devices such as mobile, tablet, and web applications. Okay. Now, also, AppSheet is trusted by a lot of creators and a lot of big organizations such as Pepsi, ESPN, Enterprise Holdings, and ClearLink. And also, AppSheet is also recognized by a lot of organizations such as Forrester for being the leader in no-code development platform in 2018, and also by G2 Crowd for the top 100 fastest growing products, and lastly by Capterra as being the best ease of use and best value badge in 2018. Alright, so we can move faster without code using AppSheet. Okay, so AppSheet gives business users the ability to create applications without having to write any code. So, ibig sabihin nito, you are just focused on having your idea becoming a solution. Okay, and then also AppSheet also provides an iterative environment. So, meaning you're agile, which makes you create application or customize application in real time, streamlining the development process. Okay. All right. So there are a lot of sample applications and templates available to AppSheet to jumpstart each users to create their own application using the AppSheet. Okay, so we can explore the AppSheet library of sample apps to get inspiration on how AppSheet can help you work better. Okay, and then also all these apps are fully customizable, so you can make it or you can make them your own. Okay, so para makita nyo kung ano sila and saan sila makikita, just click the link, and then ito. You can see there are a lot of sample applications here created and made public by AppSheet. Tapos pwede nating gayahin or pwede nating pag-aralan. Okay? So as you can see, we have here the filters. So the industry, I can filter them out. And then if I wanted to select yung mga function ng apps per industry, I can select here, and then kung ano namang mga features yung mga available. So for example, I wanted a signature. Okay? So that's a facility inspection. And then what's good about this sample apps and templates is that you can copy, katulad ng binanggit ko kanina, and then explore for the purpose of learning. Okay? Alright, so let's go back to the presentation. So, alright, so natuto ka ng mag-AppSheet and you wanted to publish your application and make it available to the users. So, after you created your application or deployed it, it is automatically compatible all across mobile devices and types and browsers to make it easy for everyone to use. Okay. Alright, so the next slide is more on the rich features of AppSheet. Okay. So, see, AppSheet has a lot of features. So, number one would be the capture images. So, you can capture and annotate images using AppSheet. And then also, you can log locations. So, ano-anong mga locations ito? It can be a long lat. It can be a Google Map address. It can be an X and Y. Okay. So, and then also, we have the scan barcodes. Now, scan barcodes to search for existing records accurately. And then also we have yung deliver notifications. So ano yung mga notifications na ito? It can be an SMS or it can be an in-app notification. Okay? And then also AppSheet supports yung generate reports. So meaning we can generate reports such as sending a report on a timely basis. And then next would be yung sent emails or which is ito yung isa sa mga pinakagamit na gamit. For example, if I added an entry or created or accomplished an app, it can send an email to the, let's say, the recipient na may nadagdag na ganito and you check it out. So, something like that. And then also, we have yung build dashboards. Now, in build dashboards, isa to sa pinaka useful din since you can aggregate or you can put a lot of view entries in one single view. So, meaning, itong mga view entries to can be a chart, it can be a table, or it can be sometimes a gallery, or basta you can put any view entries here so that you can have a bird's eye view of everything. Okay, and then also AppSheet supports yung signatures. Okay, so maganda to for approvals. And then also yung work offline. Now AppSheet gives us the capability to use our app offline. And then, also, yung install across devices, katulad ng sinasabi ko kanina. So, AppSheet, when you deploy your app, automatically available siya sa lahat ng devices. Okay? Okay, next will be the integrate platforms. So, AppSheet integrate data from many sources. And then, connect third-party platforms too. And then, also, it has yung webhook na kung saan AppSheet can call APIs, sorry. And then lastly would be the apply logic. So if you're familiar with the different productivity tools such as the Microsoft Word or Excel or yung Google Sheet, when you apply yung expression, it's the same as applying din kay AppSheet, okay? And then next, okay, so dito tayo sa ating third topic, yung getting started with AppSheet. So, alam na natin from the previous topics kung ano si AppSheet, saan siya nabibilang na platform, and then anong tawag sa mga developers na gumagawa sa mga no-code platforms. And then, we have an introduction on what AppSheet is, and then yung mga functionalities niya, or features. Now, we can get started with AppSheet. Okay? So, syempre, ito na yung gagawa na tayo or yung first step on creating our simple to-do app using AppSheet. So, number one step natin is to sign up a trial account with AppSheet using Google Mail or any authentication provider supported by AppSheet. So, si AppSheet, I think, has 7 authentication providers na he supports. I think yung pinaka-common yung Gmail, it has sa Microsoft, and it has the Dropbox, and yung iba pa. Okay? So, mamaya papakita ko rin sila, okay? So, and then also we have the how-tos. So, syempre, after natin magkaroon ng account, let's learn the how-tos. So, mamaya tuturo ko rin yan. And then yung create and test your own application. So, syempre, since alam na natin yung how-tos, we can create our own application using AppSheet. Okay? And then also, syempre, as we develop our application, so parang gumagaling na tayo, no? So we should know yung mga support channels na available sa atin, like yung AppSheet documentation. So lagi akong tambay dito, and then sa community. And then after that, we can deploy and share our application sa ating mga users. Alright, so in 9 easy steps, ituturo ko sa inyo kung paano gumawa ng application sa AppSheet. Okay? So this guide shows you how to create an app directly from your existing data in the AppSheet editor. Okay? So syempre, sisimulan natin yan by preparing your data. So for this session, we will be using the Google spreadsheet. Pangalawa is yung connect our data to AppSheet. And then yung pangatlo is yung since si AppSheet generates yung mga bagay-bagay sa atin, we need to refine them. Okay? Both by the data or yung mga column, and then syempre yung how AppSheet presents yung data, which is yung views. And then syempre yung step 5, ituturo ko sa inyo dito yung mga actions, workflows, and reports. Now, these are the automation part of things kay AppSheet. And then, step 6 is define your app security settings. So, dito, ituturo ko sa inyo na si AppSheet has its built-in security settings na pwede natin gamitin. Like yung we require the user to sign in before they can use the application. And then, 7 is yung test your application with real users. So, dito tuturo ko sa inyo kung paano i-distribute yung app or i-share yung ating application to the users. Okay? And then, lastly, would be the deploy and share your application. So, dito, pinakamasayang part ng ating session will be the deploy since we will make our app live. And then lastly, yung improve your app and get feedback. So, syempre, si AppSheet has this built-in feedback feature, okay, which I will be showing to you mamaya, okay? Alright, so since alam na natin na in 9 steps, we can create our own app using AppSheet, gagawin naman natin tong guide to create yung ating to-do app, okay? So, before we can create our application, syempre, kailangan muna natin gumawa ng AppSheet account, okay? So, for this session, gagamitin natin yung any Google-based na email address. So, for me, I'll be using my organization email. And then, if you want, you can use your Gmail to follow me on this tutorial session. Okay? Alright, so let's start. So, for this one, let's go to the appsheet.com and then start for free. And then click Google Sheets and Forms. And after that, select the email that you want to use. And then allow AppSheet to see, edit, create, and delete files on your Google Drive. Okay. Yeah. Alright, so this is the AppSheet platform. As you can see, makikita natin dito yung quick start na kung saan if I click this plus, it will create an app for us the normal way or the other ways of doing things or creating application using AppSheet. And then, as you can see, makikita natin dito yung mga apps na ginawa ko. So, I have the to-do app. And then, also, dito rin natin makikita yung mga deployed apps. Okay? So, once we deployed our application, makikita natin siya dito sa sa taas ng prototype apps. Okay? Alright, so let's start. Before I start, ang gagawin natin would be, syempre, name muna natin yung ating database or data source. I'll name it to do app B2O. So, kanina nakita nyo, may ginawa na akong to do app. So, for testing purposes. And then, syempre, after naming the data source, let's add naman yung mga columns or fields na gagamitin natin. So, for a to-do app, kailangan natin ng ID. This ID will be the primary key. Mamaya, papakita ko sa inyo ng ating per each task item or to-do item. Okay? And then also, we have the task. And then, syempre, yung status ng task. And then, also, yung name ng gagawa ng task or yung name ng naglagay ng task. And then, yung kanyang email address. So, yung email address, very crucial to, especially if we wanted to put an role-based access. So, if we wanted to limit lang yung datang makikita or gusto lang natin makita yung mga task ng naka-login na user. So, email address yung ginagamit natin doon. There is this functionality kay AppSheet na user email na kung saan AppSheet can know kung sino yung naka-login. So, mamaya papakita ko sa inyo. Okay? And then also, we wanted to add yung timestamp. So, syempre gusto natin i-record kung kailan ginawa yung mismong task or to-do item. Okay? And then, syempre, don't forget to name the sheet or table. So, gawin natin task. Gusto ko capital letter. Yan. With an S. Alright, so kung mapapansin nyo ngayon, what we wanted to do now is to follow the step number 2. I'm gonna show it to you guys, yung connect your data to AppSheet. Okay, so ang gagawin naman natin dyan is, let's go to the data source, and then see Google Sheet or the Google Workspace is well integrated kay AppSheet. So na makikita na natin yung button here or functionality here na kung saan we can create na directly from the Google Sheet yung ating application. Okay? So let's create. Yan. So AppSheet is smart enough to know na to generate yung application. So alam niya na kung anong klaseng data yung meron yung data source natin so that i-generate niya na. So kung mapapansin nyo dito, this is the AppSheet editor, guys. Ito si AppSheet editor. So kung mapapansin nyo, nandito yung mga key components that builds the AppSheet. So mamaya ituturo ko sila sa inyo, pero I'm not sure kung matuturo ko sa lahat, pero I'll teach you the basics o yung pinaka laging ginagamit sa kanya. Okay? So, mapapansin natin dito, we have the emulator na kung saan dito nagre-reflect yung mga changes na ginagawa natin sa app. And then, ayun. So, kanina, nabanggit ko yung auto-generation, right? So, kung mapapansin nyo, generate na ni AppSheet yung view para sa atin. Yan. Pati yung mga actions na pwede natin gawin. So, ginawa niya na yung form. And then, naglagay na rin siya ng initial value ng timestamp. So, mamaya, tuturo ko sa inyo kung paano maglagay ng mga initial values dito when we reach yung ating data refinement. Okay? So, tuturo ko muna in a very, very, very quick yung mga nandito sa ating AppSheet editor. So, as you can see, kanina binanggit ko yung key components. We can see here yung info. Now, itong info, it houses the spec or the specification. So, you can see dito, since wala pa tayong ginagawa, hindi pa siya nagpapakita ng graphical representation ng app. So, ano ba yung makikita natin dito? Makikita natin dito yung task, which is the table, and then yung task, which is yung mga views na connected dun sa table or sa data. Okay? So, let's go to the dashboard. So kung mapapansin nyo dito, na ang dami niyang functionalities na ino-offer. So you can edit the logo, edit the name, and then edit the description. Okay? And then we can also see here the version, yan, and then the name ng app. And then isa to sa mga awesome kay AppSheet, you can know yung app usage, kung sino yung mga nag-access, yung usage statistics na when I click this one, makikita natin kung sino yung gumagamit ng app natin, unique total app users per month. We can also see yung app users per day, and then yung mga email address na nag-access sa atin or sa mismong app. Okay? Yan. So, hindi ko siya i-discuss in full, but I'm giving you some idea kung ano-ano sila. Okay? So, when we go to the info ulit, and then go to the dashboard, we can also see yung app performance. Yan. Yan. Kung mapapansin nyo dito, it offers a lot of monitoring functionalities such as the usage statistics, kanina yung binanggit ko, and then yung audit history. Now, yung audit history, nire-record dito ni AppSheet kung ano yung mga nangyari, like yung operations, ano yung workflow yung nag-execute and all. Okay? So, when I click this audit history and then click yung log analyzer to show yung mga functionalities na available sa kanya, makikita natin dito in a graphical graphical image yung kung ano yung graph or yung mga nag-access, anong operations yung nag-execute and all, okay? And then also we can download yung kanyang results, okay? And then also may mga multiple filters na pwede tayong i-apply dito, okay? Alright, so let's go back to the app, then go to the info, and then the properties. Ito. So, yung app properties, kanina, we can edit the name here, yung application, and then kung anong version yung ginagamit niya ngayon. So, seeing version, when we edit our application, automatically yung latest version nag-increment. So, papalitan siya, okay? Dadagdagan. And then, syempre, yung short description nandito, ito natin yan. Pwede natin silang palitan. So, for example, gusto ko siyang palitan na simple to do app. And then save. And then kung mapapansin nyo, kulay blue yung kanina, no? It means na kailangan na siyang i-save kasi may changes tayong ginawa. Okay? So, makikita rin natin dito yung category. Ayan. Yung ating app. And then yung function. And then yung industry. So, kung mapapansin nyo kanina, yung industry and function, AppSheet, we can also make our app public or gagawin natin siyang isa sa mga template doon made available so that other developers or citizen developers can also learn and copy if gusto natin. Okay? And then, nandito silang lahat, yung description and all, and yung app default folder. So, itong app default folder, since ginagamit natin yung Google Drive, so, let's see itong path na ito, okay? Kung saan niya sinasave yung ating application or yung mga ina-upload natin na image or files dito sa ating application, okay? Alright, so after natin matutunan yung app properties and then kung ano yung mga laman niya sa loob, we can now proceed to the errors. Now, yung errors, it contains, syempre, yung errors and then at the same time, yung warning. So, paano natin nalalaman kung may error or warning? So, when you see this UX, napapansin nyo dito yung kulay blue. So, pag may error or warning, dito naman siya lumalabas. Now, may color distinction. So, pag red, it means error. Now, pag yellow means a warning. Okay? Alright, so, after natin matutunan yun, and then na-connect na natin yung ating data, we can now proceed to step number 3, which is yung refine how your app uses your data. So, dito matututunan na natin kung paano maglagay ng initial value, and then yung if we wanted to change yung column type, dito natin sila gagawin. Okay? Alright, so let's proceed now to the app. Okay, so sa info, kung matatandaan nyo, we have learned kung ano yung mga nasa loob niya. So, kumbaga, mga attributes ng ating applications or properties. Now, when we refine our data, we go to the data. Siyempre, tayo nagre-refine. So, mapapansin natin, we have here the tables, and then we have the columns, and then we have the slices, and then we also have the user settings. Okay? So, let's start with the table. Now, ano muna yung data? Sorry. Now, yung data, it houses all the tables na in-upload natin. And then, here we can do the column refinements. Okay? And then, dito rin tayo gumagawa ng mga slices. Now, ano ba yung slices? Ito yung filtered version ng table. So, kung mapapansin nyo yung task, kung lahat to naglalabas ng different kind of status, sa slice naman, we can set it to, ipakita mo lang yung mga completed na status. So, something like that. Okay? So, naglalagay tayo dito ng expressions. Okay? So, if you're familiar with the productivity tool na or formula na ginagamit kila Google Sheet and Excel, it's the same as what we can apply dito when we are adding expressions. Okay? So, we have also the user settings. So, sa user settings, we can control the behavior, kung ano ipapakita niya lang data. So, for example, if I'm gonna select a drop-down value na kung saan ang nakalagay dun is manager, for example, or ipapakita lang nun would be the data na related dun sa manager. Okay? Now, if it's an SME, yung data lang ni SME ang makikita natin. Okay? Alright, so let's proceed now to the table. So, kung mapapansin nyo dito, the table has a name, and then and also the operations na pwedeng gawin dito sa table. So, for this operation na pwedeng gawin dito, we can add, kung mapapansin nyo yung task, and then we can update. Now, sige, mag-sample tayong isang entry, okay? So, I'll wash the dishes. And then the status would be ongoing, and then my name is Lauro on Junior, and then my email address will be Lauro on that Junior at novare.com.ph, and then may timestamp. So, paano daw yung update? So, when I click this entry, I can click this icon with the pencil so that I can edit. Okay? So, kung mapapansin nyo, I cannot delete kasi hindi natin tinik yung delete. Pero pag tinik ko yan, and then save, I will have the capability to delete an item. Okay? So, when I click this, makikita nyo yung yung button to delete. Okay? So, kung mapapansin nyo, si AppSheet generates all of those views and actions after natin i-upload yung table. Okay? So, napaka-awesome nun, di ba? And then also, part of the functional or features or functionalities when we go to the table is the storage. Makikita natin dito yung information about the data source na ginagamit natin. For example is the to-do app. Ito yung name ng ating data source. And then yung sheet or yung table na in-upload natin. And then kung anong klaseng, anong klaseng data source. So, it's a Google. And then, syempre yung kanyang source ID, which is ito, yung mahabang to. Ito siya. Yan. And then, yung store for image and file captures, default lang. Since we're using the Google Drive. And then, we can also find here the filter existing row. So, if ever na we accomplished the form, and then ayaw natin ipakita yung na-accomplish the form, we can, tick this. And then, we also have yung security filter, which is a feature ng asing isang premium license. So, I think hindi natin ito magagamit dahil when we deployed, dahil pang premium license. Okay? And then, access mode, we can access the database, the data source as an app user or as an app creator. So, meaning nito, the app will access the spreadsheet using the app creator or app user's credential. So, ibig sabihin, pag wala siyang access doon sa mismong Google Sheet, yung ating user, she cannot, access yung ating data. Okay? Alright, so yung skill, o some features I'm not gonna discuss kasi I just want you to focus more on sa mga ginagamit lagi. Okay? So we have also the skill or the scalability features na available kay AppSheet. Kaso available lang siya pag enterprise. So we have the data partitioning. So it's available here. And then some localization. If you wanted the data to be local or gagamitin natin yung local use to read the table, we have here all of the selection. Okay? And then some documentation. Syempre, si AppSheet pala has this functionality called co-authorship. So meaning, it's very important then to, syempre, put some documentation, especially kung ipapasa na natin yung app to another developer who will actually maintain and manage the app. Okay? Na ginawa natin. Alright, so yun. So since alam na natin yung basic understanding sa table, papansin natin dito na there are a lot of functionalities din. Dito tayo nagdi-delete when you click yung delete. And then we can view the data, yung laman niya, when we click yung view data. And then if we wanted to go to the data source or yung Google Sheet, we can click yung view source. Yan. And then also, we can go directly to the view columns when we click this. We can also do yung pagpunta sa columns by clicking ito lang when we are in the data. So, click lang natin and then yung table and then kung ano yung i-edit natin or i-refine natin na field. Okay? So, kanina, when we added a sample entry dito, napansin natin na lahat is lagi nating tinatype, right? So we wanted to put some good experience naman, user experience dito sa ating app. So gusto natin, number one is to get the user email ng nakalagin. So kung mapapansin nyo pala dito, under the emulator is makikita natin yung email na nag-access sa mismong emulator. So for this, ang default would be the emails creator, email ng creator, yes. And then, mapapansin natin dito, we have some table. So, mapapansin nyo yung emulator, yung view na ito, or yung task form, ito, is using the table task. So, quick access functionality na lagi kong ginagamit is ito. When I click this, automatically mapupunta ako sa task. And then, when I click yung sa view naman, is mapupunta ako sa view. So, mamaya ito discuss ko yung view. Okay? So, chillax lang tayo dito. So, ayan. So, let's go back to the user experience. So, gusto natin, we wanted the status to be drop down. And then, we wanted our email address to be an initial value once we log into the app and use it. And then, gusto natin read-only lang yung timestamp. Okay? So, how do we do that? We just go to the task. Let's use the quick access and then go to the columns and then let's start with the timestamp. So sa timestamp, we don't want it to be edited, okay? So kung mapapansin nyo dito, yung column configuration, it houses all the information with the current field na gusto natin i-refine. It has the name, it has the column type, it has the show kung gusto natin ipakita, or kung mapapansin nyo dito yung itong flask, it means na we can add some expression here. So, for example, I can type false. So, ibig sabihin nito, hindi natin ipapakita yung mismong field. So, dapat expectation dito, ma-hide siya. Okay? Ayan. So, nawala na-hide na natin si timestamp. So, kailangan natin siya ibalik. Sorry. So there are too many ways to show or hide. We can just untick this show. And then the other way is yung ginawa ko kanina, yung click the task in input or type in the expression. Okay? So, yun. So si AppSheet naman, so when we go to type, supports I think 35 column types. So for this one, gagawin natin siyang date time. So yun yung date time. And then there are column details na available. So, mapapansin nyo, iba-ibang field, iba-ibang type details or column details. Okay? Yun. So, as you can see, sa data validity, kung mapapansin nyo dito, we can put here yung kung required siya. And then, we can put some invalid value error kung, kung may, if we can put some expression here na, kumbaga, kung hindi text yung nilagay or hindi X number of characters yung nilagay, magkakaroon ng error. Okay? So, naglalagay tayo ng rules kung ano yung magiging laman or value nitong ating field. Okay? So, we can also, go back to the, gusto natin gawin, which is yung pag-hide, uneditable dapat yung timestamp. So, dito, when we go to the auto-compute, dito tayo naglalagay ng initial value. So, kung mapapansin nyo yung now is one of the built-in functionalities ni AppSheet na kung saan magge-generate siya ng timestamp. Okay? And then, let's go back to the update behavior. Sa update behavior naman tayo naglalagay kung gusto nating maging editable yung isang field or hindi. Okay? So, I can just untick this one. And again, guys, when we see the plus icon, meaning pwede tayong maglagay dito ng rules, okay? Or condition. Okay? So, pwede dito na kung ang naka-login is a manager, she can change yung timestamp. So, something like that. So, for this one, gagawin lang natin siyang simple. Yan. Ayan. So, kung mapapansin nyo, hindi na siya editable. Right? Okay, so next rule natin is to the email address. So we wanted to put initial value here. So pwede kong gawin is I will just click the pencil and then go back to the autocomplete, which is yung natutunan natin kanina, yung initial value. Pwede kong gawin is ilagay ko siya initial value or ilalagay ko siya sa app formula. So para automatically hindi na siya na-edit. Okay? So, itong app formula, it houses all the computations ng isang field. So, dito natin siya nilalagay as compare sa initial value na yun na talaga yung kanyang value from the very start. Okay? So, let's type in here the user email. Yan. So, kung papansin nyo, si AppSheet has this expression assistant na super helpful. So, for each expression, like, kunyari, gusto natin ng mathematical expression, makikita natin siya dito, mga available, or yes or no, and then text, and then time, and then yung columns na available o sa table na ginagamit natin, which is yung task, and then some lists and deep links, okay, and then others. Okay, so let's go back. So yung user email, isa ito sa mga available na built-in functions ni AppSheet to get yung email nung naka-login na user. So, let's click, save. And then also pala, gusto ko pakita na may check dito. It means na tama yung ating expression. So, may, kumbaga, chine-check din ni AppSheet kung tama o mali ang iyong expression. So, let's save. Then, save. Okay, so let's go back. Ayun. So, kung mapapansin nyo, yung email address natin automatically nailagay na natin. Wow. When I actually view or kunyari ginamit ko yung app and then just want to add my entry. Yeah. And then next would be the status. Gusto natin drop down to. Okay? So, automatically, pag ganyan, ang gagawin natin is select natin enum. So, enum is the drop down column type kay AppSheet. So, lalagyan natin ito yung value. So, ongoing. And then, yung completed. Okay? Yan. And then yung base type natin dahil base type niya is a text. Text siya. And then, let's click yung drop down. For, mas maganda kasi drop down kaysa sa buttons. Sa buttons, nakikita niyo dito. Nagbabago siya. Okay? So, for this one, gusto ko drop down. And then, syempre, isa sa mga gusto kong gawin is magkaroon ng initial value. So, gusto natin ang initial value niya is ongoing. Okay. Yan. Save. Done. Okay. So, nalagay na natin yung tatlong rule na gusto natin. Gusto natin, drop down sila. And then, initial value is ongoing. And then, yung email address, we wanted them to be an initial value or an auto-computed value. And then, yung timestamp, yung initial value, tapos nilagyan natin siya ng uneditable functionality. Okay? So, let's make an entry. So, wash the dishes. Now, other consumers. Let's see. Yeah. So, kung mapapansin niyo yung ating emulator, it has a mobile view, it has a tablet view, it has a desktop view or browser view. Yeah. Yun. Okay, so once we have created yung ating entry, let's proceed now sa isa pang functionality na in-offer ni AppSheet, which is yung slice. Okay, so yung sa slice, ito yung sinasabi ko kanina, ito yung filtered version ng ating table. So for example, if I wanted to create a slice na kung saan ipapakita ko lang yung mga completed, let's try here, completed. And then row filter. So I'll just create my custom expression for this one. Ang gusto ko lang is I'll take advantage of the expression assistant and select from the selection kung ano lang yung field na or field na gusto kong kunin or available dito sa table na ginagamit natin. Okay, so status is equals to completed. Then you can just put here some description. So, show only completed status. Yeah. Okay. And then, what I can see here is yung slice column. So, kung gusto ko magtanggal ng mga fields na ayaw ko makita, I just click yung ito, negative. Yeah, negative, or it's 1, 2. Let's see, show that. So, yung ID, since siya ay key, hindi natin siya pwede tanggalin. Okay? And then, syempre, yung slice actions na ginawa natin dito, o na-customize, we can add it here. Ito yung i-discuss natin sa behavior. Okay? So, it's a future topic. And then, syempre, it's the same as the table. It has their operations available to it. So, ang gusto lang natin gawin would be updates and add. So, save. Yan. Guys, tingnan nyo ongoing yung natin yung ating status. Now, if I go back to the view, sorry, this is a very advanced ito yung advanced na topic, pero I just want you to see kung saan ginagamit yung ating slides. So, kung mapapansin nyo, yung table, yung data na gagamitin natin will be the slice, since ito yung filtered version. So, kung mapapansin nyo, nawawala, no? Kasi wala pa tayong completed na status. Okay? So, I'll just delete it. Okay, yeah. Yun. So, mamaya papakita ko sa inyo yan. Okay? So, let's save. Yan. Yan. Sorry, dinilit ko pala yung yung view. Sorry, balik natin siya ulit. So, that's the task. Okay. Yan. And gagawin ko siyang table. Or deck. Alright, so last of the topic natin for the user sa data would be the user settings. So ito naman, I don't think I can create an example for this one, pero ang idea lang natin dito is that we can create a settings or an option before we can use the app kung ano lang yung data ang ipapakita niya. Okay? So let's proceed na sa ating next topic would be the UX. But to end this topic, yung sa data natin, ang natutunan natin would be the tables, kung paano mag-upload. And then, kung ano yung mga basic functionalities niya dito, from anong operations ang allowed. And then, yung storage, yung information about the storage. And some advanced features dito, like yung sa security, to limit kung ano lang yung data na makikita ng users na naka-login, and then yung scalability or yung data partitioning. Okay, so just yeah. Alright, so let's proceed na sa UX topic. Okay, since natutunan na natin kung paano gamitin ang data component ni AppSheet, now, we can continue now sa ating UX. Kung babalikan natin yung ating 9 steps, we are now in the step 4 na kung saan we will refine how our app presents our data. So, when we go to the app, the way we can refine the presentation of data is through the UX component. Okay? So, sa UX component, it has 5 functionalities. It has the views, from which we can select what type of views or page ang gusto nating ipakita. It can be a calendar, a table, a gallery, or a dashboard. So, those are some of the views na available kay AppSheet. Okay? Now, yung ating view has different places na pwedeng makita. So, pwedeng paglagyan. So, for example, kung mapapansin nyo dito yung primary view. So, primary views are the views na makikita natin dito sa baba. And then the menu views, or click this, when I click yung menu, is siya naman yung nandito sa ating gilid. Okay? Sa hamburger menu. So, kung mapapansin nyo, nagpalit siya from primary to menu views. Okay? Alright, so ibalik natin siya ulit sa primary view. So, kung mapapansin nyo, this is how we create a view. So, since ginawa na ni AppSheet sa atin yung paggawa ng view, we can now configure or refine kung ano yung gusto natin or kung ano yung requirement natin for this particular view. So, gusto natin gawin siyang table. Let's create or convert it into a table. And then, gusto natin nasa left siya or side. So, since nasa isang lang tayo, isang view lang yung create natin, hindi natin makikita kung paano. Pero I'll show you kung ano yung naging itsura niya or kung paano natin siya ilipat-lipat. Okay? So, for this one, to create our new view, let's click yung plus. Okay? So, pangalan natin siyang test view. So, yung test view natin will be using the task data. Okay? So, makikita niyo dito. So, or the completed, or mamaya gawin natin siya. Okay? So, for the task, gusto natin isa siyang form. Okay? And then, we wanted this form to show on the leftmost. So, gusto natin nasa taas, unahan siya ni task. So, kung mapapansin nyo, nalipat siya, right? So, it offers a lot of different position. It can be a reference view only. Now, meaning ng reference view, hindi siya nakiklik dito. Wala siya dito sa mismong primary view or menu view. So, lang siya. Kumbaga, gagamitin lang natin siyang reference, which can be used at ginagamit natin sa paggawa ng dashboard. Okay? So, kung maglalagay tayo ng view entries sa dashboard. Okay? Alright, so let's delete this so let's delete this. So let's go back to the old view. Kung mapapansin nyo dito, every view options has their different settings. So kung mapapansin nyo dito, we can sort it by if you want status, and then we can group them by, let's say, status ulit. So kung mapapansin nyo, every change na ginagawa natin nagre-reflect doon sa ating emulator. Okay? So we can also add some aggregate. So we can count kung ilan. So for example, dito yung ongoing natin is isa pa lang. Okay? And then we can also rearrange the column order by adding them all here. Ayan. Okay. Address. So, and then also the display. So, yung iba dito, hindi ko na muna i-discuss para I'm more focusing on the commonly used functionality kay AppSheet, okay? Para mas madali nating maintindihan. So, eto, pwede natin magawin yung icon. We wanted to say plus, or we can say add, or I think pas maganda nga yung to. Oh, sorry, yan. So, AppSheet offers a lot of icons for us. It can be a solid or a regular. Yan. So, madami tayong choices. Okay? So, we can also change the display name. And then, we can also add yung show if. Now, again, yung show if we wanted to add some role-based access based on role, kung kunyari nag-login is let's say, a manager. So, itong view yung mabview niya. At hindi siya mabview nung, kunyari, SME. Okay? So, dito siya yung naglalagay nun. So, we'll be putting some expression here to accomplish or para magamit natin yung ganong klaseng capability ni AppSheet. Okay? Alright, so we can also have yung behaviors. So, for this, pag nag-select ako ng isang entry, I want it to be edited or diretso na ako dun sa edit form niya. Okay? So, let's try. Yeah. Okay, so when I click yung wash dishes, so, bigla na akong napunta sa edit form. Okay? So, that's the functionality of the event actions. Okay, so ibabalik ko lang siya ulit sa auto. So, para dun tayo sa default. Ayan. So, after that, we can now go to the brand. Now, yung brand, we can put some aesthetics here. Okay, so pwede tayong pumili ng kulay, either light or dark theme sa ating application. So, we can also select the primary color of the buttons. So, gusto ko green, pink, or red na lang para mas maganda. And then, also, I can select the app logo. So, AppSheet offers default icons here na pwede natin gamitin. Or we can add yung custom. Now, dito sa custom, we can have a link of that image, or since ginagamit natin yung Google Drive, if we have an available icon dito sa ating Google Drive, we can upload it here. Okay? So, just by clicking yung Google, and then it will automatically select from your Google Drive. Okay? Select mo lang yung image file. Okay? Alright, so for this one, gagamitin ko yung default. So, ito. Gusto ko itong blue. Ito, para actually represents a to-do list. And then, we can also have yung launch image. So, ito yung parang loading. So, when I click this resync icon, papalitan natin siya ng something more animated. So, palitan natin ng Ako ay go to the Giphy. Giphy. Sorry. Yan. So, the Giphy, I'll select or type in the loading. And then, siguro I'll select this one. Cute. So, just copy the link. So, like I said kanina, you can put the link here. When you click the custom, and then put it here. And then yun. So when I click the resync, automatically mag-add na siya. Okay? Alright, so we can also select the background image. And then, ayoko lagyan ng background image. Pero you can select. And then we also have yung this one, we can add the view name. We can also have yung logo appeared dito, so katabi ng hamburger icon. And then we can also add tong mga styles. So if we wanted to have this type, yun, mas okay to. So I can, or ito, or parang mas gusto ko to. Yan. Yan. So that's how we customize the looks of our app using the brand. And then we can also have or add some format rules to it. So when I say format rules, pwede akong magbigay ng mga icons here dito sa tabi ng status. So for example, ganun ang gagawin natin. No? So gusto kong maglagay ng thumbs down sa mga ongoing. Okay? Sa mga ongoing. Type natin dyan yung rule name. And then also yung data na or table na gagamitin natin, which is ginagamit itong ating view or table. Yan. So it has nandito yung yung column status kasi. So we select task. Okay? And then we can select yung condition. So again, the benefits of having this expression assistant, I can just can click na lang tong column and then select the status. So for example, yan, and then click equals and then ongoing. Okay. And then I will select kung saang field siya lalabas. So gusto ko sa status, di ba? Yun yung gusto natin. And then I'll select yung thumbs up, thumbs down, sorry, na icon so that ayun, nakita nyo? Nagpakita na siya doon. So gusto kong palitan yung color. I want it to be siguro green or red pala dapat. And then gusto kong palitan yung text color ng red. Yan. And then syempre, we can also perform text formatting here. Ito, readily available para sa atin. We can do uppercase itong ating status. Okay, so since natutunan na natin yung format rules, let's proceed now to the options. So sa options, dito tayo naglalagay ng starting view. So kung mapapansin nyo dito, AppSheet gives us the options, kung ano yung mga pagpipilian nating starting view na available sa atin. So let's start with the task. And then also we can put some expressions here na kung saan, for example, kung ang role ko isang manager, mapupunta ako sa isang view na ito. Or kung ako naman ay SME, dito ako ma-redirect. Okay? So, yun siya. Ang ating starting view. So, mapapansin din natin, nandito lahat yung mga functionalities din kay button. For example, we can disable yung share button here. So, you can see, yan. Or we can allow user to provide feedback. So, ito isa to sa part ng natin, ng mga advanced topics natin. Okay? So, pwede natin siyang i-tick here. Pwede siya magpakita or i-tick natin. Okay? So, we can also disable yung share. Yan. So, yeah. And then, also, we can provide here or makita natin dito yung global font. So, ayoko na siyang baguhin dahil ito yung favorite kong font, yung Roboto. Okay? And then, dito rin sa options, makikita natin yung other options per view. Okay? So, makikita natin dito yung mga defaults. Okay? Ako, I don't change yung mga dito, available options. Kasi, for me, yung default is napaka-useful na para sa akin. Okay? We can also limit din dito yung sa detail view, yung maximum number of rows to show on an inline or yung reference view tables. Okay? Yan. So, yun si options. So, commonly sa starting view ko siya ginagamit. Okay? And then lastly is yung teka muna, isa-save ko muna siya. Lastly would be the localize. So, kung mapapansin nyo, when we create our form, may mga default buttons dito na available. Okay? So when I click yung plus, you see na meron tayong save. Okay? So, syempre, we also have yung about and feedbacks. Okay? So, pwede natin ito baguhin using the localize. Okay? So, ang gusto naman natin dito to take advantage on this feature is to change yung save and gawin natin submit. Okay? So, parang mas okay yung submit kaysa sa save. No? So, I'll just type in here yung submit and then save. Yan. Yan. So, napalitan na siya agad yung submit. Okay. Yan. So, overall, yun si UX. So, kung mapapansin nyo, yung UX natin, dito natin ine-edit lahat ng mga anything according, related to views. For example, kung anong klaseng view type siya. And then, also, lahat ng view options dito are different for every type of views. Okay? And then also dito rin sa UX, dito natin ginagawa yung brand. So dito natin sila dinesignan yung itsura ng ating app. And then the format tools, yung paglalagay pa natin ng extra aesthetics dito sa ating app, which is very useful, especially kung if we want to give a more twist doon sa itsura ng mga bagay-bagay in terms of the aesthetics. For example, itong thumbs down. It means talaga na hindi okay, di ba? Ang daling intindihin. And then also, we have the options. So, yung options, the most commonly dito, yung starting view. Okay? So, how we can add some expressions here to redirect yung user based on their role. Okay? So, isa yun sa mga awesome features din ni AppSheet. Okay? And then also, we have yung localize. So, dito lang naman pwede natin baguhin lahat ng mga default buttons na available kay AppSheet. Like sa ginawa natin kanina, yung submit. Okay? So that ends our data presentation or refining how we present the data in a step. So we can now proceed to the behavior. Okay? Alright, so since alam na natin kung paano pinapresent ni AppSheet yung data through the use of the UX component, now we will now proceed with the step 5, which is creation of actions, which is under the behavior component, and workflows and reports. Now, this is under the new feature ni AppSheet called automation component. And then, let's proceed now on our app development to further understand kung ano yung mga ino-offer ng mga features na ito. Okay? So, let's start with the behavior. Now, sa behavior tayo gumagawa ng mga actions. Okay? So, mapapansin nyo, during the upload of data kila AppSheet, AppSheet does generate not just the view, but also the actions na available dun sa views. For example, the add, first itong plus, and then we have the delete, click isang item, and then this trash icon. And then also we have the edit, which is ito. And then also, AppSheet is so intelligent that it actually knows that the field is an email. So, generate niya yung button for that, or action button for that. Now, when I click this, it will open your email client na ginagamit. So, for this one, I'm using Thunderbird. Okay, so that's the action. Now, we will proceed on creating our own action. Okay, so by clicking the plus button, makita mo na dito now we can set the action button na gusto natin, or the action name, which is for our exercise would be create our CSV or extract to CSV na action button. Okay. Oops. Extract to CSV. Now, syempre, since the task is using the task table, so we will select yung task. Okay. So, dito tayo kukuha ng data na i-extract natin. And then, syempre, to do this, now AppSheet offers a lot of action type. So, from copy this row and edit the copy, going to a group, action, which is you can execute a sequence of actions. Now, ang gagawin naman natin for this session would be the export to CSV. Okay? So, after natin magawa yun, we can select what icon ang gusto natin gawin dito sa ating action button. I want a download. Yan. So, yun. Nakikita nyo siya. And then, we can set also saan siya magpapakita. Do we want it on the overlay, katulad nito, na edit button? Or we can display it prominently, which is the default. Or we can display it inline. So, yung inline, we will select saang field natin siya itatabi. Katulad nitong email action button. So, for example, I want it sa status or sa task. Yan, nakikita mo. Pero for this session, ilalagay natin siya as overlay. Gusto natin nakalabas siya. Okay? So, when I click ito, or i-save natin siya. Oh, sorry. Save. May kita mo, nandito na siya, katabi, or nasa taas nung plus button. Okay? So, when I click this, it will extract the data na nasa view. Ito, yung tatlo. So, expected natin when I click this downloaded will be tatlo siya. So, 1, 2, 3. So, ito kasing nasa taas is the column header. Okay? Okay, so kung mapapansin nyo, meron tayong workflow and reports dito. So, si AppSheet has a new feature na kung saan yung workflow and reports creation will be under the automation. So, mamaya natin i-discuss yan, okay? So, let's proceed muna sa another feature na ino-offer ni AppSheet, which is called offline and sync. So, AppSheet offers different syncing mechanism. So, we can have yung sync on start, na kung saan every time the user access the app, it will sync and get the latest data from the data source. And then we can also have the delayed sync. The delayed sync will only sync once we click this button, itong sync button. Okay. And then also we have the automatic updates na kung saan AppSheet will automatically sync the app to the database every 30 minutes. Okay. And then also we have the offline use. Now, itong mga features na ito, ang ginagamit natin to make our app be used offline. Okay? So, normally kasi si AppSheet, when we don't take this, it does download the files, the data, and the images on demand. So, once we use this offline functionality, automatically AppSheet will download all of those data, files, and images. And then, on each sync, so doon niya ginagawa yon. So, on each sync, dina-download niya na. So that if ever mawalan tayo ng internet, magagamit pa rin natin yung app. And then, once we connect to the internet, isi-sync back niya naman lahat ng mga data ang na-capture niya dito to the back-end or the data source. Okay? And then also, we have some advanced syncing here functionalities. Now these two functionalities belongs to the AppSheet core, so meaning premium features sila. And then also kung mapapansin niyo naka-tick off sila, okay? So as you remember, AppSheet, when we deploy our application, AppSheet does perform ng deployment check na kung saan AppSheet will check each of every components that builds the app, and then it will recommend anong features pa ba yung pwede nating magamit. So for example, after we did the deployment check, and then AppSheet checks yung data source natin, and then nalaman niya, oops, ganito yung data source mo, you need to check or use the server caching. Okay, so just to give you a brief introduction on server caching and then Delta Sync. So see server caching, what it does maintain a copied version ng read-only table nyo. And then what it does, it actually processes it on the in-memory cloud server ni AppSheet, so that mas mabilis yung pag-process niya on that table or whatever na nire-retrieve natin doon. Since these are read-only tables, hindi sila nag-change or hindi sila nadadagdagan. Okay? And then also we have the Delta Sync. Now the Delta Sync, what it does is it does maintain a timestamp for each of the table that was synced. Now, on each sync, AppSheet does determine which of the tables have been changes after the timestamp, and then from there dun lang magre-retrieve ng data from the data source. Okay? Alright, so yun ang behavior. So mapapansin natin, we have the actions and the offline. Now, when we proceed now to the automation, now sa automation, dito tayo gumagawa ng mga email workflows. Now, ito na yung bagong way of creating the workflows and reports. So, we have a bot. Now, the bot is actually the automation that you want AppSheet to run. And then also we have the events. The events is actually the occurrence or the operations that the bots needs to monitor so that he can actually execute the task. Now, the task, if there's a set of tasks, it's called the processes. Okay. Alright, so for our session, for our to-do app, let's create a simple email workflow. Okay, so let's click a new bot. And then, kung mapapansin nyo guys, the AppSheet platform is an intent aware. So what does it do is that AppSheet does understand your intent, and then it does recommend some suggestions here, which is aligned on what you are trying to accomplish. Okay, so for example, if I'm gonna do a simple email workflow na kung saan every time there is an addition to the task, mag-i-email siya. So what I'm gonna do is that I just type in here when a new task is created, send an email. Yan. So mapapansin nyo dito, it does recommend, pinakamalapit. So I'll just click it, and then automatically nakagawa na tayo ng email workflow. Okay? So mapapansin nyo dito, it does create the event to be monitored. So makita nyo dito yung ads. So it does monitor the operation ads only. And then after that, it will execute the process. Now, kunyari, may nadagdag na. So ano naman gagawin niya? So ang gagawin naman ni process would be to execute the task. So si processes houses task. Okay? So kung mapapansin nyo dito, Yep, yan. So what it does, it does run a task, and then ano yung task that it runs? Send an email. Okay? And then from there, we can set naman, or we can set the configuration of this email. So kung mapapansin nyo, ginawa niyo yung kumbaga yung template niya for sending an email. So now, what we can do is to actually modify pa ito or refine. So gusto natin i-send to sa syempre doon sa email address nung task creator. So kung mapapansin nyo, we have this expression assistant. Now this expression assistant does offer a lot of expressions available for different category, like for example sa yes or no, or we can have a math or text or time or columns. Now, yung columns does show all of the columns that is available to the table that we are using. So, what we can do is that insert the email address. Now, it will check. The expression assistant will check. Yan. So, kung may check, that means tama yung ginamit natin na expression. Okay? Okay, so, send. So, syempre, we don't want to use the default content ni AppSheet, so that gusto natin medyo personalized. So, what we can do would be new task added. And then, I'll add yung hi, you created a new task. We can add CC here, BCC, and then reply to, and then yung from display. Now, babaguhin natin to. We wanted the recipient know na galing to sa ating AppSheet app. So, we can name this to do app. P2O. And then the pre-header, we will leave it empty. And then also, AppSheet does offer yung email body template from which we can use a Google Doc saved inside our Google Drive as a template. Okay? And then also we have the attachment template from which we can use this template attached to our email. It does offer different type of content type for the attachment. It does have yung CSV, HTML, and then yung Excel. So we can use all of those. Okay? And then we can also generate yung mga templates na ito on our email or attachment. Okay, so you can just save this. Then go back. So when I click yung create, what it does is it will create, AppSheet will create the email body template for us. Okay, and then also the attachment template. Okay, so di ba ayos na ayos. So if you view this, so mapapansin nyo ito yung Google Doc na generate niya. Okay. Yeah. Yan. And then mapapansin nyo dito yung double chevron icon or double chevron, and then the value of the form that has been accomplished. So kukunin nyo yung ID ng accomplished form, and then yung task, and then yung status, and then yung name, and then ayun, yung email address and address. Okay? So after that, yun yung email body template. Now, ano naman sa attachment content? So we can view it here. Ayan, so we can open it using a Google Sheet. So what does it do is, it's the same as ano yung ginawa kanina. So AppSheet will populate all of the data here. So siguro we can set send all of the data dito. Ipapopulate niya AppSheet, and then isa-send niya sa mga recipients, okay? From an email. Alright, so since alam na natin yung mga different capabilities niya, so hindi natin gagamitin to, guys. Sorry, I need to delete this. We can now test our workflow. Alright, so let's test. So let's create a new task on our to-do app. Clean the electric fan. Alert continue. So ang expectation dito is that we need to receive, or we will receive an email from the app. Ayun. So we have received an email from the to-do app v2. Okay, with the subject new task added. Alright, so that's how we create a workflow. So wala tayong masyadong ginawa. We just set all of the fields there based on our preference or requirement. So syempre, AppSheet does offer also yung we can create our custom bot. Okay, so without using yung mga suggestion. Okay, so just by clicking yung create a custom bot, so it will create a new bot, and then we can create a new custom event. So from there, we can set yung, if we wanted scheduled. So yung scheduled, we use this for the reports. So yung ang gagawin naman niya is that it will send for example, send an email on a timely manner. For example, ito, you can send it every last day of the month. And then after that, we can select naman yung mga tasks na gagawin niya, or we can set a process na kung saan naglalaman ito ng different tasks to be performed. Okay? So, you can add that step. So, for example, dito, create a new step. We can create a branch condition. So, for example, if the status is completed, ito yung gagawin mo. So, we can add here another step. And then if no, we can add another step. Okay. Yeah. So how do we link a task on a process? Okay. So ang gagawin lang natin is we will just click lang yung bawat items here. Now each of the step has their own options. So for example, kung condition to check, so dito tayo naglalagay ng condition. Now from here, magbe-base naman kung ano yung next step na gagawin. So, for example, ito, pag yes siya, we can execute and send email, or for this one, we can select we can create a new task to be executed if no. Okay? So, we can do it here. Alright, so yun ang automation functionality ni AppSheet. So, it does provide rich features. So, ang dami natin pwedeng gawin. We can reuse the task also. Using the automation. So, if ever, kung mapapansin nyo dito, lahat ng task na nagawa natin goes here na pwede natin gamitin. Okay? Alright, so yun si behavior and automation. From this step, we have learned that the behavior, dito tayo gumagawa ng action, and this is where we also set the offline and sync functionalities na pwede natin gamitin. And then for the automation, dito tayo gumagawa ng workflows and reports. Okay, so that's it for the step 5. Yan, so we are already in the step 6 na kung saan we can define our app security settings. Okay, so dito matututunan natin kung ano-ano ba yung mga ino-offer na security settings ni AppSheet na built-in. Okay, so let's proceed now. Okay, so when we go back to our application, when we go to the security, makikita natin na si AppSheet offers require sign-in, security filters, domain authentication, and then yung options. Okay? Alright, so ano-ano ba yung mga ito? So, to control who can access the app, we actually require user sign-in, right? So, bago nila ma-access yung app, kailangan muna nila mag-login using their Gmail, for example, or yung mga authentication provider na supported ni AppSheet, katulad nila Dropbox, Microsoft, Smartsheet, Salesforce, Box, and Apple. Okay? Yeah, so this functionality is very helpful, especially on putting some security dun sa ating application. Okay? So we are leveraging on the authentication provider natin. So for example, for this sample is kay Google. Okay? Para before nila magamit, kailangan nila ng authenticated email address. Okay? Now, next would be the security filters. Now, yung security filters natin, ito yung nag-offer ng role-based access. So, parang nililimit niya kung anong data lang yung makikita nung naka-login na user. So, for this example, or sample na app na gagawin natin, gusto natin yung data lang nung gumawa ng task, or yung email lang nung naka-login na yung mga data nakatag sa kanya, yung makikita lang niya, or yung sarili niya lang na data. Okay? So, for example, ito, yung user email, gagamitin ulit natin. Okay, yan. So, syempre, yung email address, let's select the email address here. And then, let's select equals. So, ang sinasabi na expression na to, okay, Lau, nag-login ka. So, ang makikita mo lang is yung, yung mga data mo. Okay? Alright, so let's save. And then save. Yan. Okay. And then, yun. So, let's try adding a new entry using a different email address. Okay? So, itong preview app as, it's very, very helpful, especially if you are testing the application using different users. Okay? So, for example, John Doe. Yan. Yan. So, since si John Doe is hindi pa siya lalagay ng entry niya. So, maglagay tayo. So, kunyari, carry the trash. Okay. So, lagyan natin John Doe. Kung mapapansin nyo, yung email niyan is in-autofill niya dito. Okay? And then submit. So, kung mapapansin nyo, si John Doe, nakikita lang niya yung data niya. Now, if we wanted to test using yung email ko, so let's go back and type in my email address. Yan. Ayan. So, kung mapapansin nyo, dalawa yung nilagay ko, right? Okay. Alright, so yun si security filters. So, isa siya sa, sa mga security functionality na built-in kay AppSheet. Okay? So, yun nga lang, itong security filter is only available to AppSheet Core or Premium license. Alright, so it also supports yung domain authentication. So, if we have a domain group na meron na available, we can use, you can use it to filter out kung sino lang makagamit ng app. And then also, we have yung options na it has a lot of security options na pwede natin gamitin. So, for example, sa encrypt device data, yan, pwede natin silang i-tick, pati si secure PDF access, and then si secure image access. So, itong dalawang to, itong dalawang functionalities na to is, pag hindi ka nag-login using your Gmail or any of the supported authentication provider ni AppSheet, is hindi mo mabubuksan yung mismong PDF or yung image. Okay? And then also, yung required image and file URL signing, ang ginagawa naman ito is it prevents the users from tampering on the link. So, ang ginagawa niya, sinahash niya yung mismong link. Okay? Para hindi rin mahulaan nung mga yung mismong app or yung data. Okay? And then, next, yung treat all data as column. So, ang ginagawa naman ito is that ang gagawin niya is, oops lang, huwag mo i-record tong mga to sa audit history. So, hindi sila ipapakita. Okay? Alright, so going back, yun yung security functionalities na available kay AppSheet. Okay? Alright, so we are in the step 7 of our AppSheet app creation sample app for this session. So, let's proceed. Okay, so after natin matutunan yung security functionalities na available kay AppSheet, now it's the time to actually test it out, or paano ba natin i-distribute yung app for the users, so for them to actually test. So, madali lang siya. So, we have the users component na kung saan we can add an entire domain or whitelist an entire domain, like for example, navarre.com.hk. So, ibig sabihin nito, i-whitelist niya lahat ng mga emails na may at navarre.com.hk, or we can actually whitelist a particular email. So, for example, ito, lauroalarcon.junior at gmail.com. So, I'll just stick I'm not a robot, and then find out, select the stairs, then verify. Yan, makikita natin dito yung mga ibang functionalities. Like for example, yung add as co-authors. So, si AppSheet kasi has this functionality for collaboration called co-authorship. So, meaning ito, binibigyan mo yung email na ilalagay mo dito ng capability to edit also or to collaborate on creating the app with you. Okay? And then, also, when you whitelist a user, you can also set yung customize invite message. Okay? So, for this, since we are using a free license, yung prototype app natin should not exceed 10 users in the last 30 days. So, ibig sabihin nito, in 1 month, 10 unique users lang or email users ang pwedeng maka-access ng ating app. Now, pag lumagpas siya doon, magsasend na ng notification si AppSheet saying na, oops, Lau, mukhang medyo madami ng activity dito sa app mo for the last 30 days dahil more than 10 users na yung nag-a-access ng app mo at gumagamit. Okay? So, let's continue with the whitelisting of the users. So, ano ba yung motorcycle here? Okay? Yan. So, verify. So, after that, I'll send na an invite for Lauro.Alarcon Jr., my personal email, to edit or to access the app. Okay? So, ang gagawin ko na lang is I need to go to my email and then, at Facebook. Let's go there and open my email address. Personal. Ayan. So, kung makikita nyo dito, AppSheet sends me an email containing the link when I click yung open in browser to access the app, or I can just install it on my device. Okay? Pero for this one, I'll just click yung open browser. Okay? Yan. Oops, sorry. I'm using the email address of my other account. So I'll just change my account here. Sign out. Just log in. Use my email. Yeah, so I'll just allow it. Ayun. So, okay. So, since naka-login na ako sa Gmail ko on my AppSheet account, so ma-access ko na siya. Yan. So, to do app version 2.0. Yun, ganda ng loading, no? Ayan. So, that's how we let a user test our app. So, or how we give access to a user or an entire domain. So, dito natin siya ginagawa under sa user components. Okay? So, kung makikita mo, when you scroll down pababa, makikita natin yung in-invite natin to use our application. Alright, so when we click the links, it offers the two links. So, number one is the browser link. Now, when you put on a URL box on a new tab, it will open the app. Okay? And then next is yung install link na kung saan kung matatandaan nyo kanina na when we send an email or si AppSheet, yung nag-send siya ng email after we added a user to use our app. Okay? So, balikan natin yun para you will have an idea. So, it offers us to, when you're using our mobile phone, we can either install it natively sa ating mobile phone when we click this install to do, automatically mapupunta tayo sa App Store natin muna. And then from there, we will download naman yung AppSheet engine. Now, yung AppSheet engine na to, every time na we open links na AppSheet, it gives us the option to run it on the AppSheet engine installed to our app, which gives us a native experience on using the app, or we can open it on the browser. Okay? Alright, so let's go back to the app. Okay. Yun. So, yun yung dalawang link. And then, sa browser link, kanina nga yung binanggit ko, you can open it on any preferred browsers that you like. Okay? Alright, so, ngayon, natutunan na natin kung paano magbigay ng access sa ating mga users on kung sino bibigyan natin ng access. And then, we can also give access to an entire domain by ticking this add entire domain. And then, also, natutunan din natin na there are two ways to access the app, either by browser link or we can install the AppSheet engine to run all AppSheet link into it, okay, to give us a native feel. Okay, alright, so yun ang that ends the topic for the step 7, which is test your app with real users. Okay, so we are now on the step 8 of the creation of the application, so which is the deploy and share your application. Okay, so napakadali lang mag-deploy ng app kay AppSheet. So we just need to go to the manage component now, from which we can run a deployment check. Yan. Okay, so kung mapapansin nyo, ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na before we can actually deploy, si AppSheet, check niya muna lahat ng components that builds our application. So from the definition, up to the user interface, up to the security, up to the performance. Okay? So kung mapapansin nyo, hindi natin tinek yung data caching on server since napansin ni AppSheet na hindi naman natin kailangan. Okay? And then, there are some warnings here na kailangan natin gawa ng paraan or hindi naman siya showstopper but a warning saying na hindi dapat ganito. Okay? Okay, so ano yung sa ad description? Okay, so ang warning is please specify an industry for your app and then please specify a function for your application. So kung matatandaan nyo, during our earlier topics for the adding the industry of our application, we can see it on the info. Okay? Yan. So kung mapapansin nyo dito, we can see or add yung app properties dito sa ating function. So let's just add some other. Yan. So save. Yan. So let's go back to the manage under deploy and then deployment check. And then let's refresh our browser so that we can run again deployment check. Okay. Ayan, so nag-pass na siya. So there are other warnings here na gustong ipagawa sa atin, pero for the sa paglalagay or pag-ayos ng warning, it actually gives us the or give us information about the warning being encountered. Okay? So for this one, nahayaan ko na muna sila. I think wala naman akong custom icon na pwedeng ilagay or so ginamit kasi natin yung default. So yes, and then let's go to the account status. So kung mapapansin natin yung mga error dito, so invalid subscription plan. So kasi gumagamit tayo ng security filter. Now when we go back to the security filter, this is a premium functionality. Okay, so hindi natin siya magagamit once we deployed our application. Okay, and then next is when we go back to the manage. Okay. Hindi rin pwede gamitin si reports. Dahil ang reports, when you go back to the behavior, is for for AppSheet Core Plan, premium plan. Okay? Na ano pa ba yung hindi natin pwede gamitin sa free plan? Okay, let's check it out. Yung offline access. When you go back to the behavior and then go to the offline sync, and then ito, kasi kanina, di ba, tinik natin. So, hindi natin siya pwede magamit once we deploy our application. So, pero, what we can do is, we can move up to deployed state despite errors. Okay? So, we can do that. Okay. Yan. Yan. Kung mapapansin nyo, nagbago na yung ating status from not deployed to deployed. Okay? So, kung ibabalik naman natin siya ulit sa prototype state dahil in a scenario na may dapat tayong baguhin, so let's, we can return to prototype state. Okay? So, ganun lang kadali ang pag-deploy kay AppSheet. Okay? So, there are other functionalities sa manage component as well. There are the author na kung saan you can transfer your app. And then also yung teamwork na kung saan gusto mong gawing public sample, katulad ng pinakita ko kanina, yung AppSheet app templates or yung collection kanina ng apps na made available for other citizen developers. Or we can make it as a team sample. Now, if you are in a domain na kung saan gusto mo lang yung mga for example, sa organization nyo lang, pwede nyo gawing team sample. Okay? And then we also have the version. You can see the version history here. When we click yung version history, and then we can also have or set yung stable version here. Okay? So kasi kay AppSheet kasi, every time you change anything sa application, it uses yung current release. Okay, so we can set a stable version kung saan ito yung magra-run even though na may binabago tayo sa ating application, yung stable version pa rin yung magra-run. Okay? Okay, so we also have yung integration. So if you wanted to use the webhook, we can must have this, okay, yung app ID. And then also yung deploy kanina, pinakita ko kanina, we also have yung white label. Now we can make our app white label app. So it can be installed on different app store. And then, syempre, we also have yung monitor. So, binanggit ko na to kanina, yung usage statistics, audit history, and performance profile. Okay? And then, syempre, lastly, yung sa last steps natin would be the improve your app and get feedback. So, ito na yung last step natin, guys, before we end this application development. So, paano ba natin yung gawin? So, kanina, di ba nakita nyo to, yung feedback? It's already activated. When our user access yung feedback and they wanted to give a feedback for continuous improvement ng ating application, they can do it here. Okay? So, I can just click yung you have an awesome app. So, let's start. Now, pagka send doon, automatically sa email address nung creator ng app, mapupunta yung feedback. Okay? So, let's wait para dumating yun. Let's wait para makita natin. Yun. So, dumating na yung feedback. So, makita mo kung kanino galing. And then, yung kanyang comment. Okay? So, when we go back, we already finished our application. So when we click or see yung ating app na nagawa, so it's an awesome app. We actually perform or use yung mga commonly used components dito na for building apps in AppSheet. Okay? So yun guys, yun ang ating to-do app. Okay? So ano yung mga natutunan natin? So, aside from the 9 steps, we have learned what AppSheet is, the rich features of AppSheet, the basics of AppSheet editor, and lastly, we have created a simple to-do app. Okay? So, guys, thank you very much for watching, listening. I hope you guys learned something from me. Okay? So, thank you very much, and thank you. And bye-bye.
We're speeding into the fast lane with Globe's 5G technology. It's fast, it's fun, it's wonderful. It's Kim Son-ho approved. With Globe 5G technology, the possibilities are endless. It's about time we inspire the youth to create something meaningful, spark reinventions, and improve the framework of the future. That's what the 5G Hackathon is about. Students, professionals, and startups are welcome to join the event by registering using this link. Once accepted, you may enjoy access to the Globe 5G Hackathon HQ, where the enablement workshops will happen. That's 2 weeks worth of fun workshops and mentorship by industry experts from our tech partners. All these to get you to the top. That doesn't end there. Apply what you've learned from the workshops and pitch your idea on how you can use 5G to improve the way we live. The panel will pick the top 30 semifinalists to join the pitch competition and enjoy exclusive workshops and consultations with mentors. But if you're truly, madly, deeply at the top of your game, you can be chosen as part of the top 10 finalists who will proceed to the Hackathon Finals. 3 of the best pitches will be hailed as winners. What's in it for you? Well, over 500,000 pesos worth of prizes will be given away, plus a chance to be part of the Venture Builders program of 917's Venture Velocity and work directly with Globe 5G Acceleration Lab. This is powered by Globe and Animal Labs by DLSU. Thanks to 5G, we're about to achieve great heights. Click the link and show us what you've got. Get ready to reinvent your power to create change. Register now.
Do you wanna make a difference and reinvent your world? 네, 안녕하세요. 여러분, 김선호입니다. 샌드박스 같은 곳에서 경쟁하는 기분을 느껴보고 싶으신가요? 그렇다면 글로브 5G 해카톤에서 진행하는 워크샵과 멘토십을 통해 5G 활용 방법을 만들어보고 여러분의 친구, 동료들과 팀을 만들어서 디지털 시대 속 필리핀의 새롭고 흥미로운 가능성을 열어보세요. Follow your dream. Register now.
Why don't you watch me do my thing? Reinvent the world, yeah. Just to be more, just to evolve, just to evolve, just to be more, just to be better, just to evolve, just to evolve. Every time the world spins round, reinvent 360. We can use on this a good thing, yeah. Show the whole world, reinvent. Nobody to know it's your you watch me do my thing.
Take it to the next level with Globe's fiber, LTE advanced, and 5G mobile connection. Now you have the power to reinvent your world. Globe.
The new mind-blowing Surfer All 99? 9 gig? All sites?
For all devices?
Shareable with up to 4 people?
Like my fam? Anywhere they are?
The new mind-blowing Surfer All 99.
Dear Mother, Light of the Home.
Dad?
Hey, baby!
Greetings, Professor Rodolfo.
May I be absolved from
Math Club tomorrow.
May Globe Virtual Hangouts kasi.
Go and hang out from wherever you are. Just open the Globe One app, choose an event, and click join.
Watch concerts online!
Woo! Dance together!
We can do quiz nights.
Yo, let's go! If you allow me,
I promise
To make it up to you.
And repay your kindness tenfold. Truly, your favorite child.
I love you, Dad.
Mimi.
please, please.
Thank you, sir.
Enjoy your fave events with Globe Prepaid Virtual Hangouts. All together now.
Yes!
Get it? Get it? Yeah. Get it? Get it? Get it?